Hey, what's up everybody? It's Lids, and we're back for some more Rogue Mage, the new Gwent single-player roguelike game. And, well, let us hop back into the laboratory, because for those of you who are watching this who have been following on YouTube, well, you know that we are starting a new run here. For those of you who have been, well, I guess what I mean to say is that there's another video on YouTube that is going to come out tomorrow. For those of you watching this live who are like, Lids, what happened to the previous run? Don't worry. You'll see it then. For those of you who have been exclusively watching this on YouTube, then you're like, oh, Lids, what are you talking about? We've already seen what happened in the previous run. All of that is to say, we're starting a new run. Look, it's kind of confusing, okay? Kind of confusing to explain it, but all you need to know is we're starting a new run. And what I was thinking we would do is we were talking a little bit about, we've not yet used the Savage Fury deck. We've been doing exclusively Bulwark, the whole boosting-centric archetype. So now I think we're going to focus on the damage. What's up, Anor? How's it going? How are you? So I'm excited to try that out. For those of you who are watching live and are been paying close attention, you may know what the result of the previous encounter was, the previous run. But alas, let us hop in here. And so yes, we've done every previous run thus far using the Bulwark boosting-centric archetype. So I was thinking today, for the first time, we try Savage Fury, which I think is all about the damage. So let's see, we can preview it. So we can see what we start off with. It's a Synthesis Blaze, 5 damage, takes a turn before we can use the order ability. Ulf Head In. I don't know if I've ever said that word out loud, despite this being a Gwent multiplayer card. Damage an enemy unit by half its power, so that's a more big burst of damage all at once. Proto-Fletter is actually about, I mean, it does give bleed, but it also gets boosts. Sheila, better damage than Gwent multiplayer, okay. Comes in 3, chunks of 3. On-Crate Greatsword, damages itself by 6, so it drops all the way down to a 4 when we play it. However, it gets healed whenever we deal damage, so if we play this early and then deal a bunch of damage, it rises back up to a 10. Damage every turn from the Drummond Berserker, and then once it drops down to 3 power, it'll transform into a Bear Abomination. Panther, straightforward damage. Melusine Cultist spawns Rain, which is a row effect that deals damage every turn. And then we'll boost the card next to it if we do have Rain in the opposite row. Okay, so mostly damage, a little bit of boost, Let us hop in. No worries, thanks for stopping by, Size Matters. Thanks for the raid. Okay, so those are the cards in our starting deck. Then we get to choose our key card, and so we can either go with the Dogger, which is one of my favorite cards from Gwent multiplayer. It is an extremely greedy card, but it is so much fun to use. Whenever an enemy unit on the opposite row takes damage, boost self by 1. Defeat an elite enemy to evolve. In multiplayer Gwent, it gets boosted whenever you damage an enemy, regardless of what row it's in. So I imagine once you upgrade him once, that's probably what ends up happening. So he is the boosting complement to go along with what is a damage-centric deck. And then we have the Unseen Elder, which we may or may not have recently unlocked, which gives bleeding, so damage, and then over time gives more bleeding. So this is basically pure damage, whereas this is get boosted when you deal damage. So, maybe we'll start with Dogger. As I said, he is one of my favorite cards. It gives us a little more of a balance here between damage and boost, whereas Unseen Elder is just all in on damage in that case. But maybe, you know, on a subsequent run, we'll choose to use him instead. Let's see. Then for our spells. Now, this is an interesting question. What works best with a more damage-centric deck? Because Thunder for bursts of 3 damage, Cleanse for bursts of 3 boost, and Portal to play a random card, random unit. It's well-rounded, yes, but if we're trying to go all in on the damage, I mean, as we just said, not quite 100% all in, but you know what I mean. We're focusing more on the damage this time than we were in the past. Might that mean that we want to do some stuff that is more damage-centric? I don't think Rapid Evolution makes much sense for that. Thunder, as we were saying, like, maybe we even drop Cleanse? Thunderstorm. Thunderstorm could make a lot of sense. So the difference between Thunderstorm and Thunder is Thunder deals more damage to a specific target, whereas Thunderstorm splits that damage across random units. The more there are in a row, the more effective it is, so we could end up getting more than 3 damage when we use this, if there are a lot of enemies in a row. It's difficult, however, if we're trying to get rid of one target in particular, so it's less precise. But if we're just trying to maximize our total damage, then technically it does have a higher upside. So that's tempting. Spawn 4 rats. I don't think we have the stuff to support this all that much, because rats are just 1 power, and that basically means, you know, do you have ways to boost up a bunch of units or transform them into something better? Not really. Not with this deck, at least. Give 3 adjacent units vitality equal to their power. That's definitely boost-centric, and I think that's not really what we're looking for here. And then Portal. So yeah, I think the key question is basically, do we want Thunderstorm, and if so, what are we swapping out to get it? So we could drop Cleanse and just go all-out damage, and we have the choice of either going precise damage or wide damage. I do think we probably want to keep Portal, because it does have good upside as our big option. And it is, again, it is well-rounded going with Cleanse here. We might just swap Thunderstorm for Thunder. Do we have big bursts of damage that can be targeted? Like, Synthesis Blaze, yes. Ulfhedden, yes, although it's not ever going to destroy a card. It's only going to weaken a card, and we're going to generally look for really highly boosted cards to do that on. Targeted damage, yes, but again, very slow if we have a specific card that we really want to get rid of. This is more bursty damage. This is not targeted. This is targeted. This is not. Okay, so we have a mixture of both things. Maybe we just do this swap. Could make a case for leaving Thunder as well and maybe dropping Cleanse, but do we have cards that we really need to keep alive long enough? Dogger is really the key card we want to boost here, just to make sure that he doesn't get destroyed before he gets boosted from our damage. Synthesis, that is really hard to say with stuff he knows. Does technically need to survive for 1 turn before we can use those charges, whereas I think most other stuff is on deploy where it does damage. Sheila does not, so she's potentially a card that could use boosting. Definitely don't want to boost you because you're going to get healed anyway. Drawn Berserker, technically you could boost it, so you delay how long it takes before it transforms. That's theoretically something you could do. I guess there aren't actually many use cases for Cleanse. I guess we drop it. I guess we do go this route. Let's try it. Okay, then I do like the extra energy. I do like that a lot. The mulligans for consistency, yeah, but I don't know that that's worth it. All units in starting deck upgraded by 1. I assume this means base power. Not 100% sure about that, but I think we still prefer this. Let's do it. Okay, that's the fire dude. We had a run where that was the boss before our second run. We did not succeed in said run, so this could be a chance to take out this guy for the first time, actually face him for the first time. When we did see him before, we went down just before, and possibly the last enemy before him. Let's take a quick look at the general lay of the land is. So obviously we'll start with the battle, as we always do. Then we'll have treasures, but things like elite enemies don't have any for a while. First one would be all the way down here. One up there. Other one up. Okay, so we could do a few elites in a row if we really wanted to. Yeah, basically, go south if you want elites. Okay. Not sure yet. We'll have to see how we're doing at the time. Okay. Alright then. Full disclosure, I have been battling a sore throat. / kind of sort of have already / am in the process of losing my voice. So, gonna try to fight through this one a little bit, but we might have to cut this a little bit short, depending on how I'm doing. So, I'm armed with tea, orange juice, 2 glasses of water, and just had some honey. So, doing everything I can, and I'm on decongestants. So, doing everything I can to try to make it happen here, but we shall see. We'll start with the battle, of course. A bandit leader. Have we seen this guy before? What's your deal? Damage an enemy unit by 1, cooldown 1. Okay, that is extremely straightforward. And in some ways very similar to what we're doing. Deal damage consistently. We do have Dogger. That is our key card. We, of course, love to see him. So he'll get boosted when we deal damage. We'd like to play him early because he is an engine. This is not as engine-centric of a deck, I don't think it will be, at least, compared to what we did previously with the Bulwark decks. So, Bulwark, we said previously, is very similar to Northern Realms in multiplayer Gwent. I think this is, for the most part, most similar to Skellige, and Dogger is a Skellige card in multiplayer, as is Drone Berserker, as is the Melusine Cultist. Panther is a neutral, but... Wait, is it? I forget. No, it's Goitel? Anyways, that's an aside. I think this is probably still our weakest card, so let's dump it. I mean, we want to try to get as much damage as possible to power up Dogger, of course. Cultist can do some mixture damage and boosting. Hold on, is Rain identical to how it functions in multiplayer? Damage 2 random enemy units in this row by 1? Yeah, that's the same. Okay. I mean, we don't have... Oh, we do still have some big cards in deck. Maybe we try swapping out one of you. Okay, Protoflutter. Sure. So, I mean, ideally, we'd play Dogger turn 1. This would be the time where you would potentially want to have that cleanse just to make sure that he has time to stay on the board for at least 1 turn. So we can then, on our next turn, start setting him up for some boosts with things like the Melusine Cultist and Drone Berserker. Technically, Melusine Cultist does take a turn before we can use this order ability. So it may make sense to go with this one first anyway. And then that means the same turn that we play Dogger, we can use this order ability and set him up for some quick boosts. I think that's probably the plan. That is probably the plan. The other thing is that we need to predict where our opponents are going to be when we play Dogger, because he does need to be on the opposite row, which means if we're damaging the melee row, he needs to be in the melee row. If we're damaging the range row, he needs to be in the range row. It's actually totally the opposite of what it is in multiplayer. What's up, Jetta? How's it going? So yeah, let's go Melusine Cultist. Yeah, in multiplayer Gwent, he needs to be in the melee row for him to work at all. And he gets boosted regardless of what row your opponent is doing stuff in. Okay, yep, they are going to do damage. Technically, that could have boosted Dogger. No, that would have to have damaged their other cards first before that to happen. So yeah, this is the thing. Like, we want to play Dogger early. We'd have to play him here in the melee row. Other thing worth noting for Dogger. He gets boosted by 1 every time you deal damage. That means, if, for example, we use Thunder, it is 1 instance of 3 damage. Dogger gets boosted by 1. Not 3, 1. He gets boosted by 1 every time you deal damage, regardless of how much damage it is. So what you prefer for Dogger is actually things like Thunderstorm, where you have multiple instances of little tiny pings of damage. That is the best way to boost Dogger. So just bear that in mind. In this case, it doesn't matter because there's 1 enemy, so we can't ping it multiple times anyway. But that is worth considering. Now, yeah, that is a tricky thing. We do need to be very mindful of what rows we're playing our cards in, because they, in the case of the Cultist and Dogger, they need to be in the opposite row from our opponents, or in this case, opposite row from where we're applying the rain. Yeah. Okay, it might be a proactive greatsword, which is actually a card we don't really want to boost, because it is limited to reaching 10 power from the healing. So once it gets up to 10, at least until it gets up to 10, we don't really want to boost it, otherwise we're just taking away its healing capabilities. Once it does reach 10, then it's probably fine. So I think we'll actually deliberately play you in this row. And this is basically like a mini Dogger in some ways. It's Dogger capped at 10 power. Okay, so they are loading up on the melee row. So maybe what we do here is we play Dogger melee row, and we start using some of our damage here. In this case, Thunderstorm is only 2 damage versus Thunder for 3. However, it's 2 procs of damage, which means 2 boosts for Dogger and 2 heals for the Greatsword, which is nice. We might need to use this. Didn't want to, because I wanted to wait until they played a card over here, but it seems like they deliberately tried to counter that, and did. So we do this by applying the rain. That will boost up these guys, or boost you by 2, heal you by 2. Then we can also do this, which is perhaps overkill, but it should hit twice. Hits the same target twice, that's fine. But there's the boost and the heal, which will happen from the rain as well. Okay, so like Giga Scorpion Decoction, great example of a card that we really like, because rather than just dealing 6 damage, it deals 1 damage 6 times. So again, that's what supports Dogger and the Greatsword even better than just 1 quick burst of 6 damage. Oh, no worries, B-God. So we're trying a new deck for the first time, at least in Rogue Mage. We played a lot of Skelka decks in Gwent multiplayer, but this is our first time doing it in Rogue Mage. So we do have rain in this row, at least for 1 more turn, which means we could actually drop down this Melusine Cultist in this row, and it would immediately give us a boost here. As I was saying before, technically, boost on the Greatsword is not ideal, at least not until it reaches its 10 power, because it's basically, we're limiting the amount that it can heal itself, which is sort of like a free boost of sorts. But so it might be that. It might be that. Oh, thanks for the follow, B-God. Hope you're enjoying the stream. Let's try it.
Lead us across wave crests. Lead us through storms.
In part because the Greatsword is pretty low right now, and we want to make sure that it at least survives long enough to reach 10 power. So maybe beggars can't be choosers here. So I've unlocked the first 3 decks as well. I thus far, however, have actually only played Bulwark, and for Gwent multiplayer, Bulwark is most similar to Northern Realms, which is usually my go-to deck, so I'm very comfortable with the Bulwark archetype. Skellige and damage in Gwent multiplayer is probably my second most common archetype that I play, and so that is, I would normally say, my second favorite. However, we don't have... It feels like our starting deck here for the Savage Fury is weaker than the starting deck for Bulwark. I'm just looking at the cards that we have, and it's not super impressed. Outside of Dogger, basically, we can... Our win condition in almost every match, I think, is going to be boost Dogger to the moon using all of our damage, and if he gets shut down in any way, shape, or form, we are in serious trouble. So hopefully that does not happen. But we can now use Melusine Cultist here again, and we have enemies in the opposite row, so that's ideal. So that will heal you and boost you, and taking damage on the Greatsword is usually not a bad thing, because again, he can heal that damage fairly easily. So now, still relatively early in this match, we'd like to focus on engines, cards that start weak but gain value over time so that they have time to do that. The Berserkers would probably be next on that list. They need a little bit of time, not a ton. Technically, Protoflutter does as well. You need 3 turns, you need 2 turns to transform. Technically, you can make the case that this is more time sensitive. And we'll probably finish with you. Go melee row, it's less damage than the bleed is, but that's basically the trade-off you have to make. If you're willing to be patient, you can go range row for a little more value, but it takes longer. And we do have a lot of cards that are slow here. Yeah. You're really the only thing that can do all of its damage in 1 turn if we go melee row, so I think working backwards here. Last turn, second/third to last turn here, because these guys both only need one turn to set up. Then these ones, the ones that are coming next. So Proto Flutter, ideally what you do is you play it in a deck that has a lot of bleeding already, and you start off by dealing a ton of bleed to a specific card, and then you use Flutter toward the end to just load up on a ridiculous amount of bleeding and turns Proto Flutter into actually pretty big point slam. We don't have additional sources of bleeding though, at least not. Well, technically we do. Technically we do. Does that change anything? Does that make us more willing to go this route? It might. Honestly, it might. Let's do it. So bleed ignores armor. So I think we actually go for the Knife Juggler here. So that puts 4 bleeding on the Knife Juggler. She's going to get damage by 1 and reduces number by 1 at the end of their next turn. But we use Proto Flutter next, and that means that on our next turn, she'll have, what, 6 bleed when we apply it, which means a 6 power boost on Proto Flutter, turning it up to a 10, which is pretty nice. Now, granted, at that point in time, this card is going to have more bleed than we can actually benefit from damage-wise, which is the downside of Proto Flutter. So it's not a card that I'm a huge fan of for that reason. There's more bleed that we could potentially use in this type of deck. I mean, in many ways, the deck they're playing is very similar to what we're trying to do, as we were saying before. But we should go this route, just so we maximize the value on the bleed synergies there. So again, gets boosted based on the amount of bleeding on this card. That's why we used the Panther Bleed on our previous turn to set you up. But this was going to be our last turn play. And it does now mean that we have... We do not have anything that can immediately trigger all of its value on our last turn. Sheila get 3 damage, but not that second round of 3 damage, so she might still be last, and we just accept the fact that we're not going to get that last 3. These guys would not transform. Yeah. So that's what, technically, last turn gives 1 more damage and 2 more power. It's basically the same value as this. Yeah. Just trying to gauge if we're gonna end up bricking the last card we play, what card should we brick? The answer is definitely not you. It's either you or you. Okay. Let's go for you here. Now, the damage is random on you, which is one downside. Because they have some armored units here, and so, in this case, we will not ignore the armor, so it might mitigate our damage. We're just starting off. Erkabia, how are you? Yeah, hoping there are definitely some matchups here that I think are going to be difficult if we do run into them, but we shall see. We shall see. This is our first run with this deck, and our first match with this deck in our first run. So really just starting out here. I might have convinced myself that this is actually the best card to play last. I might have convinced myself of that. Let's go to Synthesis here. Now, I'm also deliberately kind of not using our leader ability all that much, because we do have a decent size lead here. So, obviously, it is our first encounter. I'd rather not have to blow through a bunch of energy here. That'd be nice if we didn't have to. So again, the Berserkers, after dealing damage every turn, they damage themselves. That destroyed our Cultist, which had pretty much already done its thing, so it's not a huge deal. If they destroyed Dogger, that's a different question. And a different answer. But, yeah, so this guy damages himself and damages his opponent every turn, and once he gets down to 3 power, he transforms into a 6 power unit that just sits there and does nothing. So, it's a few turns of damage. Random damage. I think we're gonna go with Sheila here, though. Is there anything that we really want to get rid of? I mean, this is their only real engine. Right now, the only thing that gains value over time. We don't really have the damage to take it out unless we go... Well, no, I take that back. We do. If we use almost all of our charges here and then Sheila, we can shut that down. Yeah, let's do that. Let's go
My studies are
there.
more important than this.
Enough damage to destroy you. And so now here's the thing. This is why Dagger's just a better version of the Greatsword. He heals himself, not boosts himself whenever we deal damage. So that means his cap is 10 power. Whereas Dagger, because he's boosting himself, there's no limit to how high he can go. So that's why he's still going up. You're not. And not really any high priority targets here. Let's see. Svanurga. Wait. What, there's two? Oh. He gets a big boost if we have 2 damaged enemies. In multiplayer Gwent, it's Bloodthirst 3. So I saw Svanurga, I was like, oh no, we just barely dodged it. Except no, he's stronger in Rogue Mage. So they did still get the boost. Still 20-point lead here. Our last card versus their last card. I mean, we still have the 3 damage here. That's nice. That'll also boost Dagger a bit. Guess we'll move you because we can. And we'll use the Berserker. And I would like to believe... I'd like to believe that this is good enough and we don't need to spend any more energy. Pretty sure that's the case. Do they have an absolutely amazing finisher? It's possible. It is a finisher. Not amazing though, so we'll hold on. I'm not sure if I've unlocked the Glacial Decanter yet. I'm around level 30 as well, I think. Maybe a little bit less than that. Okay, let's see. So I've recently learned, you guys have told me that we can preview what cards we can add or remove without needing to commit. So like dropping a Panther is probably our weakest card, so that's kind of intriguing. You know, that means we have a higher probability of getting the cards that we do prefer. Upgrading our consistency. On the other hand, we were just seeing how we don't have a lot of cards that can be finishers for us. Cards we play at the very end of the round, and Panther, at least in the melee row, can be that. So, then again, Betsy actually does synergize pretty well. Damage, and damage in a big burst. Which means we could use her as a finisher. She's slightly stronger than usual. 1 higher base power. Let me just see if Gregoire is any better than he is in multiplayer Gwent. Oh, he is. He is. The tricky thing with him is you want to get the death blow with him, which means you want to destroy something with that 1 damage. But 1 damage is hard to get death blow with because you need to have a 1 power target, and that's not always going to be feasible. We do have, although, other sources of damage, including with our leader ability. Is that reason enough to think we can set him up? Because the high end there is probably still higher than One-Eyed Betsy. Now, One-Eyed Betsy is a little more reliable. Damage is damage. Whereas in this case, it's mostly about getting that boost. I think we can still support it. I think we can make it happen. Sometimes it might be tough if our opponent just has really big targets, but hopefully we can still make it work. Yeah, so, I mean, that first encounter was not bad at all. We didn't have to use practically any energy. But now we need to think a little bit about our trajectory here. So it's going to be a treasure chest either way. But we were saying Southern Route is all about the elite battles. 3 down there. Versus Northern Route is probably a little bit safer then. Don't really need the energy. That's not really a concern right now. Or we could just go for the upgrade here, but try question marks? I have not had the best of luck those in the past. If that were our preference, then we'd actually prefer to go south. Question, battle. I guess then we'd miss this question mark, but question, battle. It's a long time without a place of power, though. And we're doing fine now, but at some point we might want to visit one of them. So, I think we go middle, go here. That might still give us the most flexibility. Go to this event and see, do we need energy back for whatever reason, or are we feeling good and go double battle? I think that might be the best middle ground. Yeah, I think that's what I've noticed as well. At least from the first impression, at least. I was unimpressed by the starting cards in this deck outside of the key card. So I guess that technically means, elite battles would be particularly important here. Cloak of Invisibility is kind of interesting. It's not damage, so in that way, it does not synergize. However, as I was just saying, it is really good to make sure that we can protect our key card, Dogger. If we play Dogger and we give him immunity, they can't target him. So suddenly, that card that we are basically relying on entirely is exponentially safer. That's kind of tempting. Otherwise, Magnifying Glass, move 3 cards to the top of our deck is consistency. If, for example, we were not going to draw into Dogger, we can use this and make sure that we do. So we can make sure that we get Dogger every match, or we can, when we get this card, make sure that Dogger, if we have him, is much safer. So consistency versus when things are going well, they go even better. Maybe Magnifying Glass is better then. Magnifying Spyglass. At least in this deck where we have one card that is just crucially important. I would love this too, but I think we might actually try this. Okay, let's see. So, now it's an event. We'll see how we fare here. I don't think we've seen this before. Fight Club. We will never speak of this moment ever again. Cloak of Invisibility, good until we face an opponent with Curse of Corruption. Not sure if I've seen that yet. As you make your way through the alleys of a town, you hear the roar of a frenzied crowd. Intrigued, you follow the sound to a stable where a group of men cheers as 2 topless fighters punch each other into bloody pulps. What is this? You go to ask. It's fitting that we get this with this deck that we're running right now. Like, as soon as we switch off Bulwark and we go for a damage deck, we see Fight Club. So before the Ringmaster cuts you off, no questions. You shrug. Fair enough. And stick around to watch the next bout. Okay. Nothing for us to do yet. Let's see. As the previous loser's limp body is dragged away, the Ringmaster shouts, "Who's it gonna be? The champion Kazoka? Or the brave challenger? Place your bets." Oh. Okay, so it's just a gamble. A low chance of a high upgrade. A high chance of a low upgrade. Take your pick. I think we'd probably just go for this. And we'll probably very well may still not get it. But I'm not sure if we get to choose our unit. Yeah. I mean, we could very easily just end up walking away with basically nothing out of this. Fight was brutal. Skin was split, bones were broken, and teeth lost. But to everyone's surprise, the challenger won. Was that the one that I did not pick? Pretty sure it was the one that I did not pick. It was the one that I did not pick. Although you'd like a chance to win your money back, your better judgment compels you to walk away. Yeah. Unfortunate. I mean, no downside. We didn't, like, lose energy, which is sometimes what happens to us, or gain a wound card or something like that, which has happened on occasion for some previous events. We just got nothing at all from it, so So we're still on 72 energy, so we don't really need this Place of Power unless we're going to go for the upgrade rather than the energy restoration. The tricky thing is that if we go for the battles instead, that means we have 2 in a row with no ways to restore energy in between. I mean, we will have a Place of Power potentially immediately afterwards, so maybe that's something we're still okay with. But yeah. We could do this for the upgrade. 1 battle might be a better middle ground. Go for a bunch of events if we want to. And treasure chest over here, be nice. Could consider an elite battle if we really want to upgrade Dogger. Maybe we do that. Maybe we do go the middle ground. I forget what this place of... I've not yet memorized what the individual colors of the places of power do for their non-energy related upgrades. So let's see what this one is. This one is remove a card. So, again, removing a bad card improves the consistency of the deck. And it does feel like we have some really lackluster cards. But I am tempted, especially because we just don't really need the energy. I mean, we don't need it in the short term. If we load up on a bunch right now and we just don't need to use it until the very end, then that might mean that we can do upgrades later instead. So maybe that's fine. Red removes, blue duplicates, green upgrades. I will remember that for approximately 30 seconds, but thank you. Maybe we do take the energy. And we just bank it for the time being, you know, because we can go up to 100. Okay, so now we go next battle, and I think our first one was quite easy, it's quite straightforward. I imagine this one will probably end up being a lot more difficult, but let us see. We certainly have the energy to take it on. In fact, we have so much energy, we could never even use it all in one battle. Okay, I remember this guy. This guy is like super RNG dude. This is the dude who transforms all of his stuff. Transform a random unit into, random unit into a random one. So he's gonna spawn in a bunch of weak cards, like 1 power cards, and he's gonna transform them. And pretty much whatever he gets is going to be an upgrade when he does that. So, but we don't know what he's going to get. So, your guess is as good as mine. We don't have Dogger here, but we can change that using the Spyglass. So, maybe we'll try to get him, but if we dump Panther, although it is technically a card we can finish with. Roman Berserker is a little bit better, but the tricky thing with the Cultist was just timing the location of him, but maybe we still dump you. Okay, there is Dogger, perfect. And we drew into Gregoire, which was the card that we just added, and I think they will have a lot of 1 power cards if I remember correctly, so that's nice. We should use this right off the bat. Just set ourselves up for drawing into our biggest cards, and that would probably mean you, and you. I mean, our 3 golds that we still have in our deck. So let's go. Is the order going to matter much? Let's see. I don't know if it's going to choose the cards we pick in order that we pick them. Like, if we click on Sheila first, is she going to be the one we draw into first? And then next, Ulfhedden, and next, Protoflutter? Like, this is probably the most natural finisher of all of them. So, if that does matter, let's just make sure we're clicking on him last. But, okay, if you could please go away now, Magnifying Spyglass. I would prefer if you would go away. Like I'm actually pressing for more info here, because maybe by asking for more info, maybe more is less. Yeah, exactly. I remember this guy. He spawns in a bunch of, there it goes. Spawns in a bunch of weak guys and then transforms them into who knows what. So, I mean, we do still want to go Dogger as early as possible. We still have not used, or not taken Cleanse, so he's a little vulnerable until he starts getting boosted. So we could potentially, in fact, probably should proactively set up some damage, like go Synthesis Blaze first. And then that means next turn we play Dogger, we can immediately use a bunch of damage and set up Dogger so he gets out of removal range. I think that's what we go for. And it gives us more time to plan which row we're going to play Dogger in, because that does matter. Okay, like here we go. 4 drones. Oh, and Okfist. Okay. Damaged all of our units. We had 1, so that was not really a huge factor on that occasion. But now we can go Dogger melee row. Damage a bunch of these guys. They're going to want to transform their 1 power cards, so if we can remove those, that's actually preferable. Because we can force them into transforming this Okfist, which, I mean, it's already done its thing, but it is a 5 power unit, so it's definitely better for them to transform a 5 power unit than it is to transform a 1 power unit. So now it's Dogger. We'll play you here. Because that immediately gets them boosted. Now, we could deliberately save these charges, because they might be about to transform this Okfist. And actually, transformation is technically a bit of a counter for damage, because if we damage but don't destroy a card, then they can transform that card and basically mitigate all the damage that we dealt. Now, in this case, when we have Dogger, at least we're getting boosted from that damage, so they're not completely removing all the progress that we made, but it is still a factor. So, And it's just something to bear in mind. Now we could technically go in with a Thunder and then Blaze, but I think that's overkill. He does not transform our... Oh. Wait, he can.
Have you seen a fuse lying about?
Can he? Random unit. Does not say his own unit. That's scary. He might be able to do that. You might be right about that. That's terrifying. Also, I kind of wanted to keep a 1-power unit for Gregoire to destroy. But, also, Phil and Trettenworth is going to destroy Dogger if we don't destroy Phil and Trettenworth right now. So that's also scary. So Synthesis Blaze drops you down to a 4. Alzur's Thunder drops you down to a 3. And then Gregoire destroys you. Yes. Or slightly less damage. And we use Sheila to destroy you because we might want to save Gregoire. Especially if they are capable of transforming our units as well. His weaker form is transform allied units into a random one. This one can transform us as well. It's a stronger version of the same card. Wow. Oh, yeah, it's a hard version. Okay. Okay. Last time we encountered him, yeah, I think it was the normal version. I do not remember him being listed as a hard enemy, but I can see that is an important distinction. And I totally would have not realized that had you not mentioned it, so thank you. Not really a spoiler, because we had seen this guy before, but just an important detail that I would have otherwise overlooked, I think. So we'll go Sheila.
My studies are more important than this.
And then we can destroy you. Technically speaking, it does mean we kind of want them to at least have some cards on their sides to increase the likelihood of them transforming their own card, not one of ours. Because at this point, if Sheila gets transformed, not the end of the world. She was going to get 3 more damage, and she's a 3-power body, but that's not amazing. So Synthesis Blaze has used some of her value, but not all of it. If Dogger gets transformed, we are in serious trouble. So, is that... might even... I mean, and if it is a hard battle, then I think that's reason to load up on more energy. I mean, we just got a bunch more energy back, right? Okay, yeah, I've only played Highland Warrior on the hard mode with the 6 Bloodthirst. 9 Bloodthirst sounds comparatively fine. Okay, I did not realize that before. I think I've previously only seen... when I've seen an enemy, it was always... if I see it multiple times, it's on the same difficulty. I did not realize you can get the same enemy with different iterations of it. So, what we might want to do here... I mean, we definitely need to destroy you. So I guess it is going to be Thunder, because otherwise Dogger is absolutely dead. But a case can be made for using Portal to just get more units on the board so that when they do use this ability, there's a lower probability of them transforming Dogger. Granted, there's a decent chance of it happening here. Fingers crossed. Ooh, thank goodness. Okay, Nekker, which they can technically destroy, and they do. Their damage. It actually was going to be a card that would deal damage, so it was kind of helpful to us, but then, and it was going to do bleed, which would have actually supported Protoflutter, so it would have been amazing. But here's the thing. We would love if they transformed this Pyrotechnician. Well, I mean, technically it's a 2-power unit, so we'd like if they would say 2-power unit. We'd love if they played a card and then immediately transformed it. But with just 2 cards on the board right now, there is a very high probability that they transform Dogger, and that is not good. So this is where we spam Portal. It's an elite, or rather a hard enemy, so I think we can justify investing here. And we do not yet have 25 power or higher, so this does not work. Do have Bloodthirst 1 right now. There's 1 damaged enemy, so that does work. Could also damage you with the Ballista. Drop you down to a 1. And boost Dogger a little bit more. I mean, most of all, we're just trying to get cards on the board, so there's a lower probability of Dogger being the one that gets transformed. Technically, if this guy's about to get transformed, and they're probably not going to have Bloodthirst for long, we are a damaged deck, so probably can make that happen in the future, but maybe we still go Ballista. It has better long-term value if it gets transformed than you do. Because we still keep the damage, even if we lose the body. And we still support Dogger. Alright, that was leader ability. Other than that, we could destroy you with the Berserker, but we don't really want that. You are the other card we'd like to play on the early side, and technically we should have played you before we did the damage there, but then again, there's that question of, are you going to get transformed? Possibly. Or we can get the Death Blow, but again, then we're pretty much guaranteeing one of our cards is going to transform, which we don't really want. I guess we go Greatsword. I don't love it, because I don't love that he is very likely to transform one of our cards here. Okay, that's actually fine. Okay, Yennefer is pretty strong. Damage the highest enemy unit by 1 every turn. So we'd like to get rid of her. Or have them transform her. Fortunately, well, I mean, they transformed one of their cards there, which was nice, but deal 3 damage here. Technically, we could go Ulfhead in plus Ballista to destroy you. And it's the same question. Are they going to transform one of our cards? We'd rather that not happen. Panther is technically set up for Protoflutter. Stacking Bleed on an enemy is going to be really hard when that enemy could immediately transform. So that is going to make Protoflutter really hard to set up. We don't really want to destroy cards, even if I would like to get rid of Yennefer. I mean, 1 damage is not going to be every turn. It's not going to be a huge factor if she's only going to be on the board for a few turns before she gets transformed. So, which hopefully will happen. So we don't want her to stay. Maybe we go Cultist. We don't really want to boost the Greatsword. But we can play something next to Cultist on this side. This Greatsword will get healed from damage anyway.
We dare not set sail without her blessing.
So what if we damage you? Maybe that's going to be enough for them to... Like, is it truly random, or do they always make a point of transforming whatever the weakest card is? And then I think we're still going Portal here, at least early. When there are not many cards on the board. There's another Gregoire with an usual starting power of just 4. One-Eyed Betsy. And that's more damage. It is more damage, as is this. Betsy gets pretty much all of her value on deploy, whereas you do not necessarily. 4 damage could significantly weaken but not destroy you, which I think is the ideal outcome. So let's go this route. Okay. So now at least we have enough units on the board that there's a lower probability of them stealing or transforming the card that we really do not want them to transform. Ah, they did it though. Darn. Ah. There goes Dogger. And they transformed it into Mullane, which is a card with a deploy ability, so she's not even doing anything anymore. Ah, darn it. Darn it. Okay, okay. Well, that was the card we were trying to protect. Now, I mean, this is suddenly our most important card on the board. And Melusine Cultist, actually. I mean, we will... On one hand, we kind of like when they have a bunch of weak units all of a sudden. Yeah, that is... It's such a fundamental change, actually. It seems like such a small thing that he can transform our cards in addition to just his own. But it totally runs counter to what would usually be your way to go against this guy. Usually, you destroy all the weak stuff, so that he has to transform one of his bigger cards. This time, we actually want him to have weak cards, so that he'll just have a high quantity of cards and transform one of his rather than transform one of ours. At least, that was the case when we had an important engine. We don't really have much in the way of important engines anymore, or at least they're not nearly as valuable as they once were. So maybe we actually embrace the madness and say, okay, you want to transform some of our cards? Fine. Hopefully you're going to transform it into something better, because for the most part, they've already done their thing. I think that is actually what we do here. I think that is probably what we do here, in fact. So, also, this is a wide row, which means Thunderstorm would be quite nice right about now. It would definitely fully heal the Greatsword. We're also going to get some additional damage from the Cultist. And then we might still have a 1 power card at the end of that for Gregoire. Maybe. Otherwise, maybe we take this opportunity to apply the bleed and try to set up Proto Flutter on our next turn. Okay. Let's go that route. We'll do Thunderstorm. It's a little cheaper. And as we were saying, maybe we don't care quite as much anymore about loading up on all the cards on our side. So yeah, we got rid of all their 1 power cards, so we definitely have made it so that they are less likely to transform one of their cards, more likely to transform one of ours, and if they do, we'd like for that to be any of our 4 power cards that are currently doing nothing. You technically are still boosting now that we have Rain in this row. That was just from our leader ability. We still have our units from our hand to play, so we'll go Panther, which also will be a card that we're fine with getting transformed because it just got all of its primary value from that bleed, and we don't want you to transform this. So we'd like to play Proto Flutter on our next turn to get a big boost. Then that becomes a card that we don't want to get transformed. Okay, we gained 1 point from that, I think. Right, that was a 4 power unit before, that was Betsy. Okay, now Germain does spawn in a bunch of 1 power cards, the cows. So, again, previously, with a normal difficulty version of this guy, that would mean you want to get rid of these cows so they don't have an obvious target to transform. However, maybe we're okay with that. Maybe. Possibly. Oh, but did they... they got rid of the card that... They ate the card that had all the bleed on it. But I wanted the bleed to set up Proto Flutter. Darn. Okay, well, in that case, we could Gregoire on a 1 power cow. I mean, there are plenty of cows to spare. We might, and as we were just saying, like, we might actually want them to transform our cards at this point, so maybe we go once again with a Thunderstorm here, try to just get rid of as many cows as we can, and then if there are any 1 power cards left, we'll use Gregoire. If not, maybe we'll go Drone Berserker, because that does need a little bit of time to get all of its value. Proto Flutter technically does as well. Yeah, technically these are the cards we want to play soon, and these 2 cards can be our last ones as long as Gregoire is set up properly, and that's a little bit of an open question there. But let's go... Still do Thunderstorm. See how many, if any, cows are left at the end of this. None. Okay, and so... Let's go Berserker. They gave us a Yennefer. That's really nice if you aren't about to destroy her, but you are. They did transform one of our cards into a better card, and then they destroyed it. So, well, it's kind of nice for a little while. Didn't last long, though. Okay, so now we want to do Proto Flutter, because otherwise we're not going to have... yeah, we're going to have just enough time to benefit from the bleed. The boost, yes, but the damage takes some time to trigger. There is a 1 power card, which is obviously a nice target for Gregoire. But, like, we're going to have to be patient with that, and with some setup from Thunder, we can definitely make that happen, I think, because they have all these 4 power cards, so should be able to still find a way to set him up. So we go for you. This becomes the card that we would rather not have transformed, along with the Greatsword, because these are both going to be fairly big. You're going to be a 7, which is not really as important, but let's go after Germain. So yeah, that's obviously bigger. You deal damage and transform. Dancing Star is damage. And they got another Ockfist for more damage. But there is still a 1 power unit here, so I think we might just go for the Gregoire. And make sure we get that 10-point boost, which is pretty nice. Then you become the primary card that we do not want to have get converted. So you're going to be even bigger than... I mean, the Greatsword actually got damage there. You'll get healed up a bit from that damage and from the damage that Germain takes from this bleed. So that's... You actually will be a 10 by the end if everything else remains unchanged. Yennefer damages everything if they play her in the melee row. Boosts everything if they play in the range row. That actually helped us more than it helped you. So, thank you. Boosts every card on the board. Their cards and our cards. If you play the range row, damages every card. Their cards and our cards they played in the melee row. So if you have more cards, you're supposed to play in the range row. If you have less cards, you're supposed to play in the melee row. They just played it in objectively the wrong way. So it also makes Ulfhedden a little bit better, going for a bigger target like Office. So that's the plan. And at this point, looking pretty solid here. I mean, that's a big lead. Of course, they still their leader ability. And one last card, which who knows what's going to happen, right? But I think we have a big enough margin here that we're probably okay without having to spend any energy. Transform into Bloody Baron. Philippa is a good burst of damage, but that doesn't look like it'll be enough. So we'll take the win. All right, so yeah, definitely even more chaotic for the hard version of that Mad Alchemist. It seemed like in the past we only saw the hard versions of enemies near the end of the run. Maybe it's a higher probability of happening there. So it was like 100% of the time when we were in the latter half of the map before, but that was a very early hard enemy. So let's at least see what our options are here. Ooh. Ooh. These are good. These are good for our deck. Yennefer, damage the highest power units by 1. So if there are multiple cards tied for the highest amount of power, she will damage all of them every turn. So you want to try to ideally match the amount of power the highest units have on your opponent's side of the board. And that could add up quite quickly. So turning her into a very solid damaging engine. Bloody Baron, I mean, that's a legendary version, so lots of increased base power there. He's mostly not about the damage. He's mostly about resetting the power of a unit, so if your opponent has a really highly boosted card, then you use this to reset that boost. If he's inspired, meaning if he has more than his starting power, then he gives bleed, which actually does synergize really well with the Proto-Flutter, if we happen to have the two of them. And they're both great. This technically synergizes a little more with the rest of our deck, or at least with Dogger, whereas this synergizes with Proto-Flutter. Maybe we go that route because Dogger, we're already confident that that's a solid win condition, but if we can turn the Proto-Flutter into a win condition as well, that might make our deck much more versatile. So maybe we go that route, and then you damage all enemy units in a row by 1 is actually, it's pretty solid as well. That's a finisher for damage, which would also be really good. So we'd love to see all these. We would love to have all of them, but I guess we'll go Bloody Baron, because those other two are more Dogger support, and this is more Proto-Flutter support. So rather than going all in on Dogger, oh, but then again, we can guarantee that we draw Dogger with our passive card. I forgot about that. Yeah, we should have just gone for that one. Thanks, Adore. Thanks for stopping by. Have a good night. Yeah, I forgot that we had the passive treasure that we got that allows us to guarantee we get Dogger. Because then we can just go all in on Dogger. Unless he gets transformed like he did in the previous encounter. But alas, let's see. So we did not have to spend that much energy, despite that being a hard battle, so that's good. And we loaded up on energy early, so that means we probably don't need to go this place of power. We go double event, or we could go event and go into 2 battles soon thereafter. Either way, end result, we'll have access to a treasure chest, potentially an elite battle, where we go down here. If we want to dodge an elite battle, well, that means we're going to get a whole lot of normal battles. I might like one... No, I do kind of like the battles, though, because, I mean, we just saw, as we were saying before, our starting deck, pretty weak, in my opinion. Pretty darn weak. But we just saw the quantity and significance of the cards we can add that can make our deck much, much stronger. So it feels like, more so than with the Bulwark deck, we are more reliant on using battles to get new cards to support our deck. Because, feels like without that, we are a little lacking in firepower here, so maybe we do go this route. embrace a double battle. We have the energy to do it, and then we can get some energy back. And if we're still doing okay energy-wise, we can go treasure chest into an elite battle. If we're not feeling great about it, we can instead go events and, oh, well, and then we're going to have a ton of normal battles. Okay, this, well, if you wanted a bunch of battles, oh, wow, wait, what, hold on. If you wanted a bunch of battles, that is a great way to do it. Problem is, look at this. Okay, ready? If we go the way I was just thinking of going. Events, battle, place of power. Remember this, because then you go treasure chest, elite battle. Okay, no. Actually, I was thinking go this way. Events, battle, events, battle. No place of power for the entire latter half of the run. That seems like that is destined to fail. I mean, we didn't have to use much in that encounter there, but I mean, that's in part. We technically still used around 20. It's just that we loaded up on a ton of energy to start with. So, I mean, that probably means we have to go elite battle. There are much more places of power up there. Yeah. Okay. I think that's probably the path then. We're going to want to go up here. And it means we are definitely committing to an elite battle. So, yeah. I think we can handle it. Battles early. Try to get new cards. Restore energy. Treasure. Elite. Energy before heading into the final boss. That's the plan, I think. Okay, let's see. Trickster. We've not seen this one before. I recognize what... I think I recognize who that is from Gwent multiplayer, but a Sylvan, Torque, sitting on a stone near the road, asks if you'd like to play a game. Oh, is it a trap? I'll ask you a question, a sort of riddle, if you'd like, and if you answer correctly, I'll give you Erendite. If you answer incorrectly, you give me our treasure, the magnifying spyglass. Ooh. Ooh. What do we think? This is our consistency. This is our only treasure right now. And it guarantees that we can get Dogger and at least 2 other big cards. And that could be the Bloody Baron that we just acquired, or any other big cards that we acquire in the coming battles. I do really like that. So without that, if we miss those big cards, we are in trouble, I think. I don't remember what Erendite does. We might pass this one up. I also have no idea how difficult this riddle is going to be. I think the stakes are a little too high here. No time for silly games. Not today, Sylvan. Not today. So, kind of a missed opportunity, yes, but also I feel like, you know, if we struck out there, we were going to be in a really tough spot. So, instead, we'll go into a couple of battles. We have decent energy at this point, but we'd like to make sure that we don't spend that much so we can still get some back here if necessary, but be in good shape for this elite battle. So let's see, what do we end up with here? Furious Ice Giant. Definitely don't think we've seen him before. Destroy an allied unit, then boost another allied unit by the destroyed unit's power and spawn Frost with the same duration on an enemy row, cooldown 3. So he doesn't do it very often, but it's functionally like Consumption with the added bonus of Frost, which damages us. It's a row effect. Damages the highest unit by 2. Okay, so remember, we can guarantee that we can draw into 3 more cards. We have some good ones already. And they are going to do some boosting, right? Destroy an allied unit and then boost another allied unit by the destroyed unit's power. That means a late Bloody Baron could be awesome to reset the highly boosted card, so I'd like that a lot. I think this could be the last play if we play him in the melee row, which means he'd get Zeal. Whereas if we play him in the range row, then he gets boosted, but it will take a turn before we can use that order ability, and that means he has a way to give the bleeding as well, but that's much slower, where we would otherwise perhaps be lacking a final... Well, Gregoire could be our final play. Okay. I mean, we don't have to commit to that just yet. I think I was mostly thinking that from the standpoint of Panther would otherwise be a potential finisher, because that, if we go melee row, gets all of its value right off the bat. But I think between these two, we can make our last turn work. Maybe? Maybe. What are we looking for here? I mean, We can guarantee we draw into 3. It'd be Dogger, Protoflutter, Ulfhedden, or we want Sheila instead, maybe. And Protoflutter with Bloody Baron, we were saying, could be really nice. We take our chances here. Okay, well, it's the same thing. We draw into Protoflutter. Okay, so in that case, we can go 1, 2, and 3, and I do not remember if we established whether they actually get drawn in the order that we just selected them or not. I did not actually take note of that, despite asking that question previously. We're going first, and they do not have any units on the board. So what we might do here is, I think we did it once before, we'll start with Synthesis, and then that means assuming we draw into Dogger on our next turn, we can immediately deal the damage and boost Dogger. Same turn that we play him, so that he's much less vulnerable. So let's do that. Okay, it's an Ice Giant, that's fitting. Okay, at least the first time round, yes, we did get it in the order that we played them, or the order that we selected those cards, so Dogger, earlier the better. We would like to get him. Now, it's not a huge deal to damage this Ice Giant, because it's not really doing anything. It is going to lower the amount of power they get when they destroy this, and pass on the power to someone else, which we were prepared to deal with that anyway with the Bloody Baron, but hey, yeah, we'll go for it. Just load up on the damage here to get Dogger boosted up to make him a little bit safer. Downside, ooh. And that's actually who we would have preferred that you move, so that's fine. And yeah, it does look like the cards show up in the order that we selected them, so that's cool. Could destroy you with Sheila, although that's overkill, technically. Could go Cultist. At the moment, that's fine. Could maybe save Synthesis.
Hear my prayer. Fill me with strength.
Okay, Fuka, that's gonna get boosted over time. Technically, you don't really want to boost it, so it's gonna make it harder to trigger Thrive. So we also really want to damage it unless we can destroy it altogether. That would have been a good target for Synthesis. But let's see, 3 + 3 from Thunder could work. Could be a good target to reset with Bloody Baron, but this is not a good time to use this, really, because there's nothing over here. So we could get damage, yes, but it's not really going to help any of our cards. Not going to boost them. So I think we do probably just get rid of you. Sheila. Or do we deliberately load up on this row and just say, we're not going to let you get 2 rows worth of damage on us on the same turn, maybe? Even if there's no row effects here yet. There very well could be in the future, so I think we still do this.
Interesting.
And then we just get rid of you. And you're not in the opposite row from Dogger, which means he's not getting boosted, which is a little unfortunate, but we're still getting rid of one of their powerful cards. Or a card that at least could gain value over time. Okay, well, there's another one. This one considerably easier to get rid of, because 3 power, 3 damage, plus the 1 damage from the rain would remove you at the start of their turn. So that's a safe play. Technically, don't even need to use this yet. If we were to, could set up Gregoire if we really wanted to. We should remove you immediately, but I mean, that's not really the question. That's going to happen. It's just a matter of how. Yeah, let's go Gregoire. First, though, this. Then this. And deliberately loading up on this row to avoid the giving them the opportunity of hitting us with 2 rounds of row effects on the same turn. Okay, so we're looking pretty good here right now. And we can hit you with the rain and get the value now. So that's nice. You're reasonably high base power card, so you're not a terrible target for Ulfhedden, but this is potentially our last play. So let's go Roman Berserker, I think. So that does take a little bit of time, or even could go Panther. And that's potentially set up for Protoflutter. We had said might want to go Bloody Baron instead. Could go for a proactive Bloody Baron here. Maybe we will, actually. We do this.
With a hero in our midst.
You're inspired, so that means you can reset and give bleeding to a unit, and because we're going to allow this to live, they'll get a highly boosted card, so we're actually letting them do that so we can get a bigger reset, then more bleed from you, and then huge Proto Flutter play. So, a little more setup, but in the end should pay off, and technically it might still mean that we're going to want to wait on you. Okay, Bridge Troll. That might actually be the card they destroy. It is. So here's what we were waiting for. You are boosted by 8. So that means you're gonna reset you and also put 8 turns of bleed, which we can't realistically trigger. There's just not enough time for us to get all that damage. However, it is gonna set up for a really nice Proto Flutter. So let's go make it even better first. And now we can, yeah, we can go with Rain now. Technically missing out on a little bit of value there because there's only one card there to deal damage to, where Rain can hit up to 2. But the Frost would have hit Gregoire, but he had his shield, so it did nothing. So that's one other benefit of that shield. Now it's the Proto Flutter, though. And now we can go and get just huge, huge value out of this. Because they had 14 turns worth of bleed, which means 14-point boost on the Proto Flutter, so it's up to 18 here. Okay, Ghoul. Eating stuff from their graveyard. Not a huge problem. Let's go Berserker, so it has time to deal its damage and transform.
I'll smash your mug. Shut the fight, you bastard.
Spear Tip is a good point slam finisher. They remove all the bleed by consuming that card, which made some sense, but now we can just go Wolfhead on you. Deal a bunch of damage, and I think we're looking pretty good here. Not too concerned about where we stand right now. Here's the conversion. Hugo, point slam as well, but I think we'll be fine. Very comfortable. Very comfortable. And there you see the kind of value we can get to set up the Proto Flutter there. Turn it into a really big card, even bigger than Dogger in that case. Okay, so let's take a look here. I would ideally like to add, because we are looking for other synergistic cards. Nausicaa Sergeant is about the boosting, but not so much the damage, so I don't really think so. Drone Berserker is a weird card to have higher base power on, because it just means it takes longer for it to convert into a Bear Abomination. Now, it does mean more turns of damage, which is kind of nice, but still a little weird. Legendary Nekker. It gives bleed every 2 turns. 2 bleed every 2 turns. Whenever we play unit, reduce its cooldown by 1. That's pretty awesome. That's pretty awesome. That's a lot of damage and a lot of bleed, which, once again, gives us more setup for the Proto Flutter. So I think we go for it. That's quite nice. And we use, what? Maybe 1 little burst of energy there? Otherwise, almost energy free. So that's great. And especially because we're about to go into another battle. So that one might be the easiest battle we've ever had, to be honest. But away we go to the next one. Angered Treant. Have we seen him? I'm not sure that we have. Symbiosis. At the end of your turn, boost all allied Treants by 1 for each Dryad adjacent to them. So Symbiosis means whenever they play a nature card, they will spawn a 1-power Wandering Treant on the board. And if they have more Symbiosis cards on the board, then those Treants will have 1 higher power. So if they get a bunch of Symbiosis, then that starts to become a big factor. So that means we're going to target cards that have Symbiosis. They're going to automatically have at least 1 Symbiosis from their leader ability here. But does mean damage is going to be helpful. So they're going to be specific cards we want to target, and they're going to have a lot of weak cards as well. So having a wide punish can be helpful, which we can do with our leader ability if necessary. But Panther, not thrilled about that. Remember, we can still guarantee we draw into 3 cards. And so, not seeing Dogger, that will likely be one of the cards we focus on here. What else do we have left? 1, 2, 3, 4. Ideally, we'd like to see all them. And honestly, Nekker is pretty high up there as well, priority-wise. So, I think that means we're perhaps looking to dump you. We've had mixed success thus far with the Cultists. Okay. And we draw into Gregoire immediately, so that is good. Because now we can guarantee we get these 3. So let's go here, and it seems the order does matter. So let's go 1. I'm questioning whether we want you, or if we'd prefer you, because we might prefer you. Especially since you do synergize with this. I think we go this route, to tell you the truth. Okay, so first turn play, I think, once again, probably go into Synthesis here. And next turn we'll get Dogger, we can play him, and have a better sense of where we should play him. Okay, is this the same as multiplayer? It looks like it is.
Just one more feather and we're done.
So every turn, move 1 spot to the right and boost the card next to it when it does that movement. So if they're going to continue to spawn in a bunch of Ents, which it seems like they're likely to do, then that's a card that we'd like to get rid of so we can shut down that additional boosting. So we could get rid of you immediately with Synthesis Blaze. We could play Dogger first and get value from that. It's maybe not the absolute highest priority card to remove, but it's not a bad option. So, and we will have other bursts of damage from Sheila later on. So, yeah, I think we can make that work.
God is free!
There we go. Okay, this is a Symbiosis card, so that would be a high priority.
Though trees live longer than humans, they need protection from you.
Okay, so you're gonna make the nature card stronger by spawning in bigger tree ents if we let you stay on the board, so we'd like to get rid of you. Thing is, what is the best way to do that? We could go leader ability Thunder, 3 damage followed by Gregoire. That's probably the most efficient way. We'd like to get the Nekker down quickly though, but you're not as good pacing-wise. You're slow and steady damage, whereas in this case we're trying to get a big enough burst to take you out immediately. So I think on this occasion we will still go Gregoire next. Do that. Then get the Death Blow. Okay, Nature's Rebuke is a nature card. Should go after Dogger. No, they're going to get the removal. Okay, it's not a huge factor. So here's the thing. It's just a 1-power tree ant right now. So we can, or we probably should, go Nekker. This would be a decent time to do that because this is not really a high priority. Might as well just throw a little bit of bleed on it and call it a day. Okay, that's more nature cards here. And now, I mean, we can put more bleed on you when we play another card here, so that's not really much of a concern. In which case, we'd probably want to go Greatsword, so we can heal you up quickly enough for you to get back to full power. So you'll get healed from the bleed here now, granted, if they are about to play another Nature's Rebuke for 5 damage, then they could destroy you before we get the chance. Yep. Through Force Protector, they will make that happen. They should go after you. They might target Nekker, though. No, they'll go after you. Fair play. Okay, so this play is a nature card for their graveyard, and they had already played Nature's Rebuke, so it's a way to get more Nature's Rebukes. So it's a bigger card. It is boosted, for what it's worth, which means would reset it with Bloody Baron, which would put a little bit of extra bleed on it. We can get more bleed with Nekker, which sets up a bigger Proto Flutter. So that might be what we're looking for here, to be honest, because we don't otherwise have anything that we really need to remove. So I think we do that. Okay, Tried Enchantress. No, they canceled out our bleed. With Vitality. It's the anti-bleed. How dare you? Well, it does mean you're more highly boosted now. So we could do... This would give you 3 bleed. We play Proto Thunder next. That means 6 bleed. 6-point boost. We'd like to get the Nekker bleed on there first as well. Is that really necessary? Maybe we don't need to prioritize the Proto Thunder boost quite that much. Instead, we can just give bleed to someone else, because we're never going to actually have time to trigger all those bleeds, or at least it's unlikely. No, we won't have time to trigger all those. So it's kind of overkill from a damage dealing standpoint. So maybe that means we go... We will do this. And we will do this. For a big boost here. But we'll use this bleed elsewhere. Okay, Fauve, play a special card for their deck, which could be a nature, probably will be a nature card. It is. So that's why it was important for us to get rid of the Symbiosis cards early, because otherwise they would have gotten much more powerful treants. This can damage and will destroy our Nekker. We got decent value out of it. Not amazing, but decent value. So now we want to make sure we have time for the... Ooh, you know, we don't really have a natural last card to play, to tell you the truth, because everyone needs at least an extra turn to get the full value. Huh. I mean, you will heal once you move back to the other row. So if we want to try to destroy you, we need to do it immediately. In fact, we could make that happen if we go Sheila plus Thunder. It might still be overkill. I mean, it is really their only engine they have on the board at this point. So if there is a card we want to target, then this would be it. But is that really necessary? Maybe not. We'll go Berserker first, because technically you're just going to heal next turn. You're not going to deal damage. So you also haven't taken damage yet. So it's just not that time sensitive yet. Next turn would be more significant. So basically we have one turn to decide if that's important or not. So we'll go with you first. Then it's probably going to be Sheila. And then last turn we'll have a suboptimal Berserker. Okay, give now unit Vitality equal to the number of Dryads. So, oh. Wait, why'd you get boosted? So that actually is significant. Now we can't destroy you. Well, you won't get healed when you move into the melee row, so it's kind of sort of fine. But again, we have a 27-point lead. Might be okay regardless. We might just settle and instead go for this Wandering Treant, because it's the full 3 damage, and that way we boost up Dogger since we're damaging an enemy in the opposite row. Maybe that's preferable.
Interesting.
I'm just not sure that that matters that much, especially because it's going to cost us some energy, which if we don't need to spend it, then we shouldn't. There's a conversion. Shaping Nature gives them a big boost of some variety. Boost plus Vitality. There's the damage from the Treant 4. Still have enough time to use Sheila here, though. So once again, we'd probably like to do damage here so we get the boost as well, but we're missing out on a little bit of damage there in that case. It's probably still fine. We are looking at a big lead, so I think we'll be okay.
What? This?
Okay, so it's gonna be what? By the time you deal damage, I still might turn into a 68 to 60. What? It's gonna be like a 31, potentially 32-point lead. Okay, Morin for lock and or damage, but that's definitely not that good of a finisher. Would have been catastrophic if they had locked Dagger earlier, but they, for some reason, saved that for last, which made no sense. So we'll definitely defeat this guy then. Not so bad either. Do we spend any energy at all? Maybe just a tiny bit. Let's see what our options are here. We can get a stronger Ulfhen. That's interesting. Oh, hold on though. Hold on though. I mean, sure, this is damage the enemy by half its power. This is And it does require that an enemy is boosted, but still. Absorbing those boosts for ourselves, basically leech. That's pretty sweet. That's hard to turn that down. This is good for a bulwark deck, but not as good for what we're trying to do right now with the damage stuff, so I think we go this route. Okay, so then it's a place of power, and honestly, we did pretty well from an energy standpoint before, so we could potentially consider going for the boost here rather than, or the power-up rather than the energy restoration. It's a possibility, because, I mean, on the other hand, if we're about to go to the elite battle, we'd like to have a bunch of energy to spare. Probably won't need more than 60 for it, but it means even if we use a bunch for this, we'll still have some remaining. So we don't have to be cautious about our energy usage. So I think we do it. And we'll go... Remember when I said you guys told me what the various places of power did, and I was going to remember in 30 seconds? I was going to forget in 30 seconds? Well, I've already forgotten. Is this boost? This is duplicate, maybe? I don't remember. I mean, we're probably taking energy either way. It is generally my preference, so we'll see. This one's duplicate. Okay. I mean, we can't duplicate our keycard, right? Can't duplicate Dogger. If we could, that'd be amazing. But I think we'll just... It's the safe approach, but we saw that there may not be many places of power late on in the run, so maybe we do just front load all the energy here, and then later on in the run is where we're really looking to pick up on more cards and other upgrades of that sort. Okay, so now we're looking at a treasure chest. And I mean, we might as well go here, right? Because then we have the choice of either the elite battle or the event, whereas here it's just elite battle and nothing else, so away we go. And let us see this time. We saw there were a few things that could be interesting to us last time around. This time, well, we don't need a second magnifying spyglass. Erendite, this was the card that they were offering us from that previous event that we turned down. Damage enemy unit by 3. Deathblow increased damage by 1 permanently. Oh. So it starts on the board. It is damage. It's 3 damage to start, which is not that much. I mean, sometimes, when combined at least with our other damaging cards, that could be enough to either remove something or bring something into removal range. We want to ideally get the death blow on this, because then for every subsequent encounter, it is 1 power stronger. And that means that the earlier we get it, the better. The more death blow we get, the better. By the end of the run, it could become a pretty significant factor. So I do like that. It's actually, like, technically in Gwent multiplayer, this is what Sahil does, not Erendite, so that's kind of ironic, but I think that's probably what we're looking to take here. The second magnifying spyglass, I think there's serious diminishing returns there. Glorious Standard, boost everyone by 1 for the entirety of the match. Now that's technically worth, what, about like 10-ish points, but which is not bad. That's the, technically speaking, in terms of pure points, direct points, that is probably still higher than Erendite. However, Erendite gives us the option to remove cards, whereas this does not. So sure, we might deal 3 damage, eventually 4 or 5, but if we're removing a card that could generate even more value than that, then this could become something that's worth 10, 11, 12 points. So the upside is technically still higher on Erendite, even if we don't get it all the way up to 10 damage. Okay, now the question is, of course, to elite battle or not to elite battle. If we don't do it, I guess we could still go this way and, well, I mean, all the places of power are really over here. And since we have so much energy, we're not that much in need of them, but again, who knows what's going to happen at this elite battle. We might use a lot of it, and so we can restore some, maybe get upgrades here rather than the upgrades that we passed up previously. Just feels like, and place of power there as well, just feels like it's a much safer route to the boss fight, because later on in the run is generally where you want to play it safer, I feel like. So I think we go for it. I think we do it, and we'll see what we get. Okay, I remember this guy. We have faced him before. And his deal is, well, let's see. Boost all units in your hand and deck by 1. Okay, yeah, so he starts off weak, but becomes much stronger over time. And I remember he has, toward the end, a really powerful Thrive card that if he does trigger, it's kind of high power, or rather, yeah, relatively high power Thrive card toward the end of the match that he tends to play. And if he triggers the Thrive, then it has a really strong effect when the Thrive triggers, but it's hard for him to do it because it's a high power card. So we'd love to mess with that, and oh, if they're gonna do a ton of boosting, then Regis Higher Vampire sounds amazing to me. Don't really have the setup for Protoflutter yet. Ulfhedden, also good for really highly boosted cards, so we'll keep you. I think we'll dump you just in case. Gregoire. Gonna be kind of hard to get a 1 power enemy, but early on it might be feasible. I think we might dump you too. Okay, that's a good first turn play. Now let's make sure that we go Spyglass and go Dogger. You're gonna be really helpful too for the reset. But that might be a later play. So it might not be super time sensitive. Might prefer to Synthesis earlier. Maybe do this. Okay, so what do we start with is you. You, so we get as much bleed as early as possible. Okay, that is support for Protoflutter, so that is good. We have at least some way to make this bigger. Question here is, are we going to have enough damage to set up our Death Blow? End of your turn, boost. Self by 1 if you control another copy of this unit. Also damage random enemy unit by 1, so we want to destroy you. And can we make that happen quickly here? 2 damage. 3 damage from Thunder. Drops you down to a 2, which means we can get the Death Blow and Aerodite, which is something we would like to do. So I think we might go that route. I think we might do that. I think we will. Now, an early Panther is kind of weird. I don't love that. But and also we can, like, technically we'll get this off cooldown anyways. It's not a huge problem, so we might as well, even though it doesn't really matter. And Thunder. Again, we loaded up a ton of energy here. So I think we're fine being kind of aggressive with it. It is the elite battle. It's the only elite battle we're going to run into, I think. Okay, Hawker Smuggler, that gives more hand boosting. This card we'd like to shut down if we can. There is the Synthesis Blaze. So I think what we'll do is we'll go apply the bleed, place the Synthesis Blaze, and then next turn is going to be Dogger, and we're going to do what we've generally done in the past, that being just load up on the damage and instantly boost Dogger by a lot. These are the cards we do want to destroy. It's the late cards that we're going to try to weaken with Regis and Ulfhedden. Getting your... No, your Death Blow is going to be tough, though. Could make it happen. And it turn boosts self by 1. We've already gotten rid of their previous copy, so we know that's not going to happen. I think we prioritize you. I think we still probably prioritize you, and if we go Dogger, the combination of Synthesis and Hawker Smuggler, or rather, and Bleed, will destroy the Hawker Smuggler at the end of their next turn. So I think we settle for that. Technically we should have done that first. Oops. Missed out on a cooldown there. But, and also that should have been on you. Okay, those are both misplays. Not huge misplays, but technically misplays. Okay, they do have another Warbear? What? Excuse me. That's not allowed. It's rude. Okay, well, alas, now we are trying to find a way to set up Gregoire to the extent that we can, and that's going to be a little bit tricky. Because this was our biggest burst of damage. Well, one of our bigger bursts of damage. We could, of course, still use Ilfheaven or Protoflutter. I think we want to... Or not Protoflutter, but I think we want to save Regis Hire Vampire and Bloody Baron for the more highly boosted cards. So maybe we go Berserker here. Now it's at the moment just going to hit armor, which is not super helpful, but we do need to break through that armor if we're going to try to destroy one of these guys. Yeah, I mean, we'd like to... This guy's lower, so he's easier to destroy. On the other hand, this guy is in the opposite road of Dogger, so he's going to boost Dogger. So, case could be made for either. Case could be made for either. We might just go for the Thunder here, though. Again, trying to target these guys, because they get that bonus when both of them are on the board. And this one we're going to try to destroy, whereas this one we might just keep alive. Okay, like to see the random damage happening to hit you. That's good. Black Rayla will give them damage.
You'll never take me alive.
They damaged our Berserker, so now it has transformed to turn early. So now, almost can destroy you. If we go Thunder, drop down to a 2. Bleed will drop you down to a 1. If you don't get boosted, then next turn we can go Gregoire. I think we probably do that. Does get a little bit awkward with what we play now, though. Unless we just settle for a 4-boost Protoflutter and load up on additional bleed on a card that we're going to destroy anyway. I mean, that's kind of what happens with Protoflutter almost all the time anyway. So maybe we settle for that. Now, we do have more bleed, which we can use. I think in this case, we're going to want to do on Black Rayla, because she's in the melee row. So that means that we'll boost up Dogger. And it also means, eventually, it'll get rid of her inspiration, so she'll only deal 1 damage per turn. Now, do we want to get more aggressive and immediately start damaging Rayla, so she does not have inspired on her next turn anyway? That might be worth doing. As it is, I mean, it's kind of close here. We know they're going to have some big cards at the end, the ones that have received most of those boosts. Yes, we do have some ways to counter them, but still. So now you're not inspired, and it does give an extra little boost for Dogger as well. Okay. So this is the big Thrive card I was referring to before. Damage enemy by 3. Whenever Thrive is triggered, damage a random enemy by 3, so we'd like to shut you down. So you are going to keep on getting boosted every turn, so this might actually turn into the target for Regis Hire Vampire or Bloody Baron. Oh, I forgot Bloody Baron was going to be our way to set up a big Protoflutter. Darn. Yeah, that was a missed opportunity there. Forgot. This did have more setup than I was giving us credit for. Also, wait, what? How did... What? Oh, it boosts itself by 1 every turn, but still. What other source of boost did it get? This was supposed to go down to 1 power. I mean, granted, with the... I forgot that it's boosted itself, so it's going to stay on 2 power in that case, but... this is going to be a tough one to mess with. Starting with 4 power, I mean, you're not going to be a Regis target. Ulfen would technically... I mean, that's also not ideal. Rayla might actually be our preferred target. Will probably be our preferred target for Gregoire. Okay. Okay, then. In that case... Oh, we do have 2 of them now on the board. How did I not... Okay, I don't know. I don't know. I missed that. For some reason, I did not realize that was a double War Bear right now. So... I think we'll go... In that case, I mean, I want to get the Bloody Baron for the big reset. On the other hand, that means we have to play... Ideally, we're playing in the range row. If we do and he gets damaged, then we lose the Inspired anyway. Maybe we're looking to do that now, nonetheless. Okay, and then we can give the bleed to Rayla, which means now she will eventually drop down to 1 power. Now, again, we're loading up on bleed when we perhaps prefer to spread out that bleed. like to get rid of you as well. We need to get rid of you in one big burst. Otherwise, if we damage you, you're gonna trigger that thrive and cause some more problems, which, I mean, maybe with a portal we could do something to shut you down, but otherwise we don't really have an immediate answer because we did not immediately address you. I mean, Ulfheden plus Alzur's Thunder might be enough. Might be enough. And armor is going to be annoying too. Might be a factor. Yeah, they're going after you. Not so surprisingly. Okay, Old Spirit Tip is a big point slam. That will trigger the Thrive, that will deal extra damage to us for that reason. But this now becomes probably a preferred Ulfheden target. We could reset you or you. Your boost 7, your boost 7. So if we do use Bloody Baron to reset one of you, we'd like to go Leech. Yeah, what is the best way to prioritize Leech versus damage versus reset? Because some of these things are counterproductive. Like, we basically want to have a different target for all those things. I think the damage is best on Spear Tip from Ulfheden, because this is not necessarily the biggest boost, but it is the highest power right now. Highest boosts are on you two. But if we reset you, we want to make sure we can destroy you. And we don't yet have a way to ensure that can happen. Not even with Alzur's Thunder. So... But if we happen to do Portal and got something like Dogger, that'd be amazing. Or rather Morkvarg. Damage an enemy until it is damaged. That would drop you down to a 2. And then... Technically, that's still not enough. Technically, we would want... Oh, yeah. That's actually... It's kind of nasty. I mean, we could do that to you, I guess. Yeah, we're kind of lacking the finishing blow here to outright remove some cards. We can significantly damage or reset them, but we don't necessarily have what it takes to get rid of them altogether, which it's not a huge problem for you or you, it is a problem for you. Because if we reset you but don't destroy you, it's just easier for them to trigger that Thrive. So you're a little problematic. I think we might just Portal and see what we get, though. Take it from there. If we get more damage, that'd be amazing. And what did I say? Well, there is Morkvarg, the very card I was asking for. Do it on you. Drop you down to a 3. But as I said, we still don't have a way to finish you off. You're gonna get boosted by 1 every turn. So even if we apply bleed, it's not like you're gonna drop low enough that we can finish you off with Gregoire. That's not an option. Yeah, I think that is still the answer, though. You have this, which would turn into a 10, but I think you're worth a little more than that. The lane. Burst of 4, that actually could be a finisher. If we'd gone Ulfheden or the reset from Bloody Baron first, and then finish the job with Malene. That was some question I had as to whether we wanted to do the card from our hand first or this first, because we obviously didn't know what we were going to get. But I guess it's Morkvarg. Yes, it's still Morkvarg. I think so. It's kind of just more of the same, but if we go here, actually this is an amazing combo with Dogger. So if we go here for a card in the opposite row from Dogger, it does boost him a lot. It does boost him a lot. Give the bleed here just to stack up a more bleed. Again, the boost from the Warbear is basically going to cancel out that bleed, but still going to boost Dogger. And we can... we're going to wait on Bloody Baron. We'll probably end up resetting a card they play later on in that case. And have we played a card from our hand? We have not. So it'll be Ulfheden on you, I think. Next turn will be Gregoire, Deathblow on Rayla, and then finish with Regis on whatever their most highly boosted card is. That is the plan. And by using Portal, we actually get the cooldown on Nekker back more quickly, which is kind of nice. We're basically using it once per turn anyway, but... Ooh, I don't like that. Is that going to be enough to destroy you? Almost. Very closely. Very narrowly avoided that. Okay. You're boosted by 5. You're now up to 13, so you're boosted by 10, which makes you a good Regis target. That is probably what we're going to do for you. We have Rayla on 1 power, which means this is the Gregoire target we were waiting for. We did set it up for this purpose. Okay. So I think we probably do need to do this reset now. Otherwise, we risk that this might get destroyed. So it is going to make it easier for you to trigger Thrive, which is the dangerous part. And unfortunately, we can't finish the job. We can't destroy it unless we go with another portal, which we could try. Because Thunder alone just gets rid of armor. This can give you bleed, but that's not going to make a huge difference. It's going to be very easy for you to trigger this Thrive. We wanted that to be the Regis target, didn't we? I mean, again, kind of like competing priorities here, but probably would have preferred to optimize Regis. Yeah, that was definitely what we wanted. So, oops. We will probably still have a highly boosted card for us to target with Regis from their hand here. We could use it on Sheldon if absolutely necessary. It's 5-point boost. It's not bad, but could have done better. The bleed does circumvent armor, which is kind of nice. I mean, we could portal and see if we happen to find a way to get 6 damage, which is, I mean, Betsy could do it on an armored target, but that's about it. That's about it. So, given our margin here, is that feeling like that's necessary? We do have a big finisher. We have a lot of energy, though. We'll go for it. We'll go for it. Why not? Proto Flitter on a card that has 2 bleed is a bit of a point slam. It's worth 9 power. Everything else is a card we would have preferred to have played early because it generates value over time. They're engines. Whereas 0 point slam side, I think it does pretty much need to be Proto Flitter. Not really what we were looking for, but it is something. Does also mean we'll get that off cooldown more quickly. And I think our margin is big enough now that it's looking pretty good here. Triss Butterflies is a big card, though. And as we were saying, definitely going to trigger Thrive. Okay, so now you've been boosted by 5. You've been boosted by also 5. So, I mean, take your pick. I guess we'll go Triss. Oh, it's... For some reason, I thought it was a deploy ability. It's not. It's an order ability, not a deploy ability, so we won't even have time to use it. That's a huge misplay. Okay, so we totally botched the higher vampire. Hopefully, that will not matter here. Trying to remember, in multiplayer, it's also an order. For some reason, I thought when I saw us pick up this card that it was different and that it was a deploy ability in Rogue Mage and not in multiplayer, so it was significantly better for that reason, but alas, I was wrong. And that is a big oversight on my part. We should apply bleed to a card in the melee row so that we get the extra boost on Dogger. Is that reason enough to feel like we need to go with another leader ability here? They're probably triggering this Thrive, which will be 3 points of boost and 3 points of damage. That's extra 6. Again, 1 extra point from both of you. Actually, 2 extra points from both of you because you have 2 on the board. So that's 7, 8, 9, 10. 2 points of bleed, 8. They're getting a free 8 points, which means their last card needs to be a 27 or higher. It is their most highly boosted card, and all of good. Is it big enough? Do they have a Glace? I feel like they have a Glace finisher. I think we might have saw that before. Might have seen that before. And that could be huge. So I think if we had played this properly, we wouldn't need to do this. But I did mess this up on a few prior occasions. So to play it safe, well, I mean, now you're just mocking me. Now you're just mocking me at this point. We could definitely lock you. I think we'd like to do that. Because that means we shut down your ability. And we were just saying how it is easy for you to trigger Thrive when you're that low, and it's definitely going to happen from this big finisher. So
You're coming with me, dead or alive.
that shuts down 6 points that they were otherwise going to get, and it gives us a 7-point body as well. So I'm feeling better now. This is still, I think, going to be an absolutely humongous finisher. Notice an Enraged Cyclops. Okay, we're still fine, though. We're still fine. Some big mistakes were made, but don't worry. Everything is fine. Okay, so we can either select a treasure or upgrade Dagger. Whenever an enemy takes damage, boost up by 1 or split 3 damage between all enemy units, ignoring their armor. Okay, so now he gets boosted regardless of what row our opponent is on. That's convenient. And split 3 damage means he can set himself up a little bit. I mean, we usually have the ability to set him up already, but that's, I think, generally what we're going to want, especially since we can guarantee that we get him. Otherwise, we're looking at guaranteed armor. No, I think we're looking at Dagger here. Since we have the consistency to make sure that we get him every match, why not upgrade him? Because I think he's going to be more significant than the treasure would be. Okay, so we are now on the latter half of the run, and that was going to be our only elite battle of this run, it looked like. Still on 58 energy, which is okay. Not amazing, but I mean, that was presumably going to be our primary way in which we're going to spend energy. We might want to go to this place of power. Initially, I was thinking, if we're not going to blow through a bunch of energy, then we might be able to go for the upgrade here, or maybe even go for the additional battles instead. But since we did make some misplays and therefore have to compensate for the bit by spending energy, probably still going to go this route, probably still going to go the energy route as well. So I think we'll go here. Could remove a card, but no, I think we're doing pretty well there, or at least I think a higher priority to gain energy back. Okay, so now we're looking at our next battle here, going in with 78 energy, which is pretty solid, and one of the other reasons why we liked this route was because there's a lot of places to power, so even if some of these guys are really difficult, we hopefully have the energy to power through them if necessary. So fingers crossed here. Okay, this guy's kind of nasty, the chapter interrogator.
One way or another.
He is the dude who spawns and plays a copy of a spying unit, and notably, not a base copy. If you have a highly boosted card, he will create a copy of those boosts. So, for example, say, I don't know, maybe we have an amazingly highly boosted Dagger. They steal him and create additional copies of him. We are in so much trouble. We are in so much trouble if that happens. So we need to be careful not to have any one specific card that is the centerpiece of our deck. And given how much we are relying on Dagger, that is concerning. So I think we will still dump you and get Regis, which, I mean, we've learned more about Regis. It is an order, not a deployability. And it's, that being said, probably going to be a finisher here, so they won't have time to create a bunch of copies of Regis. We could deliberately, perhaps, even if they do steal a highly boosted Dagger, use Regis Higher Vampire to steal the boost from that Dagger and absorb them for ourselves. So that's kind of nice. Probably do better than you. Okay, so we should still use the magnifying glass here. Do we think that their leader ability is reason enough to not choose Dagger? That's now that's a question. Now that's one of the reasons why having the Cloak of Invisibility to give Dagger immunity would have been really nice, but alas, we did not have the chance to make that happen yet. So this is going to be tough. This is going to be really tough, I think. We would like the Bloody Baron to reset a Dagger. On the other hand, that does mean that if they create a Bloody Baron, they can reset our Dagger, which is also not something we want to see. So it's a tough one to balance here, because their entire deck is basically about countering us. So, yeah. Feel like you're safer. Then again, if we have a highly boosted dogger, then they'll use this to destroy it or highly damage that dogger. I think we get them at least just in case. So we do have some ways to either reset or leech or damage a highly boosted dogger. So maybe we still feel okay about it. Might have wanted to go for a an early Nekker as well. Did not choose to go that route. Erentite, we powered it up a little bit. It's now up to 4 damage. We'd, of course, like to power it up further if we can. For starters, I think we go Synthesis, as usual. So usually what they do is they have a few cards that they play very early that put Spying on some of our cards, and then that makes it so that they need the cards to have Spying for them to create copies of it. If it doesn't have Spying, they can't create a copy. So if we shut down some of their Spying generators, then that can slow them down a bit. And that's one of them. So Synthesis now has Spying. They'll create a copy of Synthesis. Now that's not the biggest loss here. We could even destroy Synthesis right now if we needed to. Not really sure we do need to. We could... Veil would be amazing for us because Veil is going to prevent cards from getting statuses. So if we could, for example, put Veil on Dogger and prevent them from creating copy of him, we are absolutely golden. Chances of that happening, pretty low. We could potentially Portal and see if we can make that happen, but it's quite unlikely. Because normally what we do, we'd play Dogger right now, and we would use the Synthesis to destroy this card here and get a big boost on Dogger, but then suddenly Dogger is a card they can go after. What if we, let's see, we go 1, they destroy you. You have 4 damage left. We could use Leader ability to destroy Fur card, which might at least slow down the rate at which they can give Spying to us, but or they almost certainly have more cards that can do it in their hand remaining. So it kind of helps, but I'm not sure it's enough. Just not sure that that's enough here. Could potentially do Greatsword for damage control. It's still a card we like to get boosted up early, but it's not, or healed up early, but it's not as high risk as Dogger is. So maybe that's our happy middle ground. That's our damage control. Maybe we do that. I think we do.
I once lopped off 3 heads with 1 blow.
So damage by 1, death blow, power you up, then 3 damage, or all of our damage here, get you down to 3, and then use Thunder to destroy you, because this is one of the cards that can give Spying to our units, so we want to try to shut that down as quickly as possible. So they might still try to give Spying to the Greatsword. If they do, that's not ideal. Yeah, because I was expecting something like a Mage Torturer.
I need not spill blood to make you suffer. Like
So
never
didn't want that to happen to Dogger, because if we played him, that was almost certainly going to happen. So at least it's just a Greatsword, which does require some setup. So, alright, technically, spawn and play. Yeah, so that it will still damage itself by 6 when they play it, I think. So yeah, that's actually a great card for them to try to create copies of. I'd love if they did that. That would be kind of ideal. But in the meantime, what do we go for? We can't bleed you because you have Veil. So that means no Protoflutter here. Gregoire is not set up, even not with a leader ability. That's not enough damage. Cultist, possibly. Dogger, obviously, the earlier we play, the better, yes. But again, we're trying to be mindful of when we do opt to use him. So I think it might be Cultist. I think it is. We kind of don't want to boost you all that much, because we don't want to have a Spying card that they can get more value from. So I think we still go this route, but
Lead us across wave crests. Lead us through storms.
we might go Portal here and put something else on this side. So there's something else that gets the boost from that Cultist. Ooh. So this is so good for setting up Dogger. However, it would probably sit on the board. Ideally, we'd have it sit on the board and wait to use this ability until they have more cards on the board. And then that's vulnerable at that point. That does not really have a setup. Vincent sets a non-boosted enemy to 1. Does set up Gregoire, and could, if they even get a 10-power greatsword, be good counter for that. He has 2 power, so if we don't use him immediately, then he is very vulnerable, but I think we might still want to go this route. And technically, I was thinking we were going to put him there, but we can portal in our next turn and put someone in that spot, or play a card from our hand and put it in that spot. So I am going to see if we can wait here. So I imagine they're going to do this. Yeah. Now, you should drop down to a 4. Okay, well, I don't love that. Curious who you go for, though. Actually, this is expecting Vincent, but okay. So, technically speaking, we can, if we go Cultist plus Thunder, we can destroy you if we'd like, which might be worth doing. If we are going to go that route, how do we feel about Dogger now? Is that something we feel like we've delayed long enough that even if they do get a Dogger, we've at least prevented them from using it on every single turn? So we've limited the total number of Doggers I can take, and then, you know, we can reset 1, we can highly damage another, we can leech another. So I think we're actually okay. If they steal it, 1, 2, 3 starts to get a little questionable. 4 would be bad, but I think we've delayed enough that that's not going to happen, so maybe we're okay with this. And he doesn't have spying, or at least won't immediately have spying, which could slow them down as well, so go here. I don't love the fact that he's going to get further boosted by the cultists being next to that when we do this, but we go Thunder, just 3 damage. The rain is going to hit you once and you once, so that is guaranteed to destroy you, which means we can once again wait for Vincent to do his thing. We get a little bit of boost there. That is nice, because it makes him a little less vulnerable when he was definitely vulnerable before. Emissary, oh, loads up on a bunch of boosts on one of their cards. I love that, because that means even better. Vampire here. Regis higher Vampire. Nekker for bleed. Earlier the better, and it does set up Proto-Flutter. We'd like to do it in the melee row, so it gives Dogger more... Well, normally we'd like to do it in the melee row to give more boost to Dogger. Maybe not this time, but you have Veil, so we can't do that, so I guess we'll go to Synthesis for the target there. And how do we feel about this? We actually kind of like having one very highly boosted card. So, in some ways, we don't want Dogger to hit you, because you're a good target for some of these guys. But we also should try to find something for Gregoire to do. For his death blow, I was kind of avoiding playing you early, because, once again, that would be a solid target for them to steal. So, especially when we have 1 power cards on our side, yeah, this is scary if they get a Gregoire. So, let's wait on that. Let's probably wait on that. Okay, what are they stealing here? Will it be Dogger? Do they have a way to give him spying? Not yet. It will probably be another of you. Oh, well, they can. They can now. And they probably should.
I know the truth.
They will. Okay, so here comes Dogger.
I simply want you to admit it.
Okay, so we anticipated that might happen. So I think our preferred answer for Dogger specifically is likely to be Regis. For these two, we might go the reset and the damage. I mean, whoever's the most highly boosted, of course, but cannot use Vincent on him, unfortunately, because he is boosted already. Vincent only works on unboosted cards, and right now that would mean setting us to Synthesis from 2 down to 1, which is not very helpful. So, Or we might still look at Portal here and see if we can get other answers for... Or if we can shut down one of these as well, that'd be great. Because here's the thing. We have 1, 2, 3 answers for highly boosted cards. They have 3 highly boosted cards right now. However, they're still going to have time for at least 1, probably 2 more rounds of their leader ability. So that's kind of scary. So we'd love to get an answer here. Something like a Morkfire Card of Terror would be ideal. We did not get it. Full Test Pride for damage does further boost Dogger. How do we feel about that? Great Oak is a big point slam. Not a super significant one, though. Because it's not like we can drop one of these guys down low enough where they're no longer boosted. We can follow up with a Vincent. That is not something we can pull off here just yet. It's unlikely we would be able to do that. Like, we need 6 damage on you. We could get 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 damage from you at most, which is just not enough to make that happen. And that is still a decent bit of value there. This is more of an engine. This is more of a point slam. Which one is less dangerous if they steal it? You're probably less dangerous. So I think we do this. Then again, you're going to make Dogger more significant if they do steal him, which is scary still. We might have played Dogger too early. I think we did. And we may very well pay the price for that. But we'll do it. And this Dogger is probably not going to be the one that we drain. It's going to be the one that they create after this, because that one's going to be even bigger. So damage enemy unit by 2 and adjacent units by 1. That means you go here, you hit all of them. Now, granted, these are cards that we're going to reset anyway, or leech or what have you, so it's actually not perfect that we damage them here. But then again, we were saying we, as things currently stand, have 3 answers, and there are 3 highly boosted cards that are going to get at least 1 more. So if we can damage one of them low enough that it is not a concern anymore, that would be ideal. Oh, we actually have not yet played a card from hand here. In that case, it might have to be... We'd love for Bloody Baron to set up a big Proto-Flutter. We go Gregoire on our next turn, but not just yet. I think we might have to be a proactive Bloody Baron here. It might have to be. Problem is they're going to use damage on Dogger next turn, which might make you no longer inspired. We really want you to be inspired to get the extra bleed. But we shall see. We shall see. Emissary. Okay, I like the boost if you throw on the same card. No, don't hit this. Ah. Okay. So we can use Gregoire. We'd like to use Gregoire. And get the death blow. We'd love... We did not take Cleanse. But we'd love Portal. Actually, something that could boost you up, so you are inspired again. Otherwise, next turn might be Proto-Flutter on a not so highly led Dogger. We shall see. Well, this is one of the answers we were looking for. Another Regis. So we will absolutely take it. Wouldn't say no to that. Now, granted, if they seal this, that's going to be a problem, but it would take some setup for them to do that. And we can now put even more bleed on you, which means if we do have to go with an unsupport or no inspired Bloody Baron order ability, and therefore just rely on this existing bleed, then that's not a terrible Proto-Flutter point slam, but this could have been amazing. This setup here, this combo. Might still be able to if we go with another portal on our next turn, but we are blowing through a lot of energy here. And that is the highly boosted dogger that we were fearing.
Ludifisk, give me some of that.
Put it on dogger. No. Okay. So now we can leech one of these guys. And I think we actually... Let's see, everyone starts at 4 here, right? No, actually, you guys start at 5. Okay. You're plus 16, which means it's pretty huge to leech you, which is why we actually weren't that averse to seeing a highly boosted dogger. I mean, this turn is going to be proto-flutter, so it's just a question of, do we try to reach for something with Portal to get you inspired to get a whole bunch more bleed on you? Technically, it'd be even better on you. And we can still drain you on the same turn. Get a little bit overkill on the bleed, but, you know, so be it. All right, we'll do it. So hopefully this is the last Portal that we have to use. I mean, it is overkill probably, but looking for a boost. We did not get it, but we did get more damage. Move people. Not sure that makes a huge difference. Damage all enemies on the opposite row. Cooldown 3. We'd have just enough time to do that again. Are a lot of cards here. That's something. Bigger chunk of damage. If we had reset people first, we could have reset and then destroyed Dogger with Mullane. That could have been nice, but again, we have Leech, so it's not actually a huge concern. So I guess it's probably still you. It does mean further Dogger support. Technically speaking, oh well, also we can do this. So now Protoflutter's not bad. At this point, it's gonna get a 9-point boost. So, technically speaking, the longer we wait to use Regis Higher Vampire, assuming that these Doggers continue to get higher, the more valuable it becomes. So we kind of like to save this until a later occasion. Kind of like to do that. Is it greedy? Absolutely. Yes. Also, assuming they steal another Dogger, it'd be even bigger still, so we'd like to leech that, but that might be what we do with you. Oh, we've not yet played a card. All right, we're going to do this. Okay, so now you're up to 13. That's not bad. So we know you're going to get a huge Dogger finisher on your next turn. Okay, boost someone who's already highly boosted. No, don't spread your boost. That's not cool. Okay, so need to play Regis now, because otherwise we're not going to have time to use its Sword ability on our next turn. So we do this. Also, just might not have anything for... Well, no, we can. We can make... Oh, hold on. Hold on a second here. I have an idea. Reset a card with Bloody Baron down to its base power. Then you can use Vincent. That drops it down to 1. Then you can use Thunder to destroy it altogether. We can get rid of one of these Doggers. Yeah. Or drain it and then reset it and then destroy it. Or drain it, lower it down to 1, destroy it. Yeah. Okay. I think we do that. I think we probably opt to do that. So now you're down to your starting power. That means we can actually use you. Now that means we can actually destroy you. Or we could get super risky and go Thunderstorm and just bet that we're going to get the kill, but no, we should guarantee. Very nice. So now this Regis is going to be to destroy the Dogger they create on their next turn, assuming they do that, which they probably will. I guess we'll wait. Guess we'll wait on you and just see. We still have stuff we want to reset. Okay, there is a huge Dogger. So that will be the target for you. Unless you get locked. Thank goodness you did not. That was such a humongous misplay. I mean, yes, this is going to do some stuff, but this was just so much more valuable, and they opted not to touch it, so thank you. So we leech you, Then we'll reset whoever's the most highly boosted. I think it's actually this Mage Torturer after this Dogger. So it's that. Then we reset, and then we damage a card based on its power. Which is best on you. Put some bleed on you. And, well, they will not have their leader ability on their last turn. Don't remember what their finisher might be here, but, I mean, it looked a little risky for a second there because they stole a bunch of our big doggers, but with all these Reguses and Bloody Barons and Ulfhedden there to help shut those cards down, it did maybe turn out to be a little bit overkill on the energy that we spent, but we appear to have come out with a convincing win here. There's the Dogger Order and Glusty. There's one power card, so that's not really a big factor. So we definitely take the win. Did we just win a battle by over 100 points? We did. We did. So yes, it was a very big tempo swing battle because they had some huge cards that we just stole the strength from. Let's see what our options are for, well, adding power. We just saw Ulfhedden, what that can do for us. This is a stronger version of it, so that's nice. Purifying a card would be interesting. That would have been really helpful in that encounter. Purifying Dogger so they can no longer turn him into a spy. I don't know if we can encounter the same enemy in the same run. Like, if we just face that guy, can we run into him again? I kind of doubt it, but maybe, in which case that could be relevant. So this is more of the same, whereas this fills in for a weakness that we would otherwise have, and otherwise is not as powerful. You know, 4 bleed does support our other vampire, our protoflutter, to a certain extent, but you know, it's still probably not going to be as good as Ulfhedden. Certainly not a increased base power version. Just see the option for remove. I mean, we could get rid of the Panther, which is not a bad option because this is definitely at this point our weakest card, but I think we might opt for you because Purify can come in clutch in some specific situations. The kinds of situations we might find ourselves in against the toughest of enemies, so let's go for it. Okay, so now, fortunately, I mean, that was a tough enemy. Now, granted, we probably overinvested, yes, but we do have these places of power, which are conveniently located. And I think we are probably going to look to gain the energy here, because we did spend more than we probably needed to in that previous encounter. Okay, so that means we're looking at our next battle here. And we're hoping that it is more straightforward than the previous one. But we shall see. There is one specific encounter. The, what is it? The Warlord? Who would be perhaps not a lose. So we're just fingers crossed and knock on wood that it's not him. Okay, no, it's the Highborn Vampire. We've seen her once before, I think. I don't remember what she does, though. Does it bleed? Yeah. The end of your turn, give a... She's considered a difficult enemy, okay? At the end of your turn, give a random enemy that is not bleeding, then increase the bleeding duration on all bleeding enemies by 1. Okay, so she's just going to deal a bunch of damage with bleeding and then probably have something like a Protoflutter as their finisher. So, for what we'd like to see here, definitely going to dump Panther, I think. It's marginally better. But for what it's worth, it is good. You do kind of like taking damage, which is nice against an enemy that's going to deal a bunch of damage to us. Shield is kind of nice as well. We could probably still do better, though. So Synthesis, okay. Okay, so we will probably want to go Magnifying Glass here into what? I mean, still Dogger. Possibly Protoflutter, especially because we do have some bleed support with the Nekker Rat. And I mean, Bloody Baron has been good for us thus far. We do have... Oh, no, yeah, I mean, if we combine it with Protoflutter, that does work well. The Purification can remove bleed, for what it's worth. Ulfhedden, if we have Bloody Baron, is not as much of a concern, I don't think. I mean, then again, this is for if they're getting boosted, whereas this is for just base power as well. So there are some slightly different circumstances in which they're useful. So, like, the answer is probably still going to be you first. But are we actually choosing for spyglass? No, we aren't. Now we are. You first. But you're not something we need to do super early, so we can probably wait for you, but... Options. We'll do you, and then you. Okay. So now let's either start with the Nekker or with Synthesis Blaze. So we can immediately... In fact, you have Zeal, so we should really probably not play you just yet. Go to Synthesis first, because she does take a turn to set up. Okay. You'll get boosted whenever there's a bleeding enemy. So you will gain power over time. You're 7 right now, but between Synthesis and Erendite, we can get rid of you. So I think we will do that and get Dogger boosted in the process.
Ludifisk, give me some of that.
Okay, so this is 5, so that means we hit you twice. Then do this. Get Dogger boosted, get rid of their engine. That's good. Okay, Crimson Curse is going to deal a lot of bleed. It also spawns in some cards in the row that we want them to get spawned in. And we could destroy you. We'd like to. It's a kind of overkill in this case. We'd like to get the Nekker out as quickly as possible. This is not super urgent that we address you. So I think what we'll do is we'll actually save. I think we will still save our damage abilities here. We could go Dogger. We really wanted to, just to get him boosted up a little bit, in case we're concerned about that. But we should do this, of course. But we could have seen where Dogger's damage is going to go, and then deliberately put the bleed on the card that was less damaged. But I think we're definitely saving this. We'll do this just to play it safe. We do want to get the On-Crate Greatsword down early enough that he can still benefit from our damage. Okay. Philippe is a card we definitely want to destroy. And we should be able to make that happen. 2 damage from you. 3 damage from you, and then 3 from you is enough, or leader ability, but we don't really need to do that, so I think we'll go... with this.
I've no interest in politics.
To get rid of you. And we can give bleed to you. Okay, Flutter also gets boosted through Vitality when we get bled. But 3, 4, and 1 more damage from you. Yeah, that looks good. Deny them all that Vitality as well. That's overkill, but so be it. Oh, sorry. Excuse me. Sore throat is catching up to me a bit now. Oh, give me a second here. Okay. The tea has been consumed. Let's see. So, you do have Thrive. Which means you might get boosted, which could make you a target for Bloody Baron to reset. We'd still like to get you down early, so this might be the time to do that. Don't lump the Panther, but go for you. We're okay with you getting destroyed. You've already used all your order abilities, so it's not really a concern. But the bleed... technically, bleeding you means it's easier for you to trigger that Thrive, so maybe we go for the Ekimara instead. Parasite. Okay, now that's why we wanted to make sure the Dogger remained boosted. Ooh, it wasn't up to destroy Dogger. As if a unit is already bleeding, it deals 1 damage, right? Wait, what's that coming from? Oh, it was from Blood Moon, actually. Blood Moon. Last turn of that. Wow. Okay, so just enough to destroy Dogger. Now, we do have a big lead here still. But that was, of course, one of our key engines. Our key engine. If they get more boosts, then Bloody Baron could be a factor as well. And we can potentially set up Proto Flutter for a bit of a boost, too. In which case, we should probably start loading up on bleed on somebody. And it might have to be this Catechin. So if we go Panther. For 4 bleed. Add 2 more bleed to the equation. Now that means that Proto Flutter would get a pretty sizable boost if we were to target you. Okay, then Wolham Hunter can lock, which they should do on either of you. That's a little unfortunate. If we had the Purification, that'd be useful, but alas, we opted not to go that route. So, it should be Proto Flutter here. It should be Proto Flutter here, unless we go. We want to sneak in a portal that gets us the charge from Nekker, so then we can load up on even more bleed. Means it's slightly bigger Proto Flutter. I mean, we have a big enough lead that I'd like to believe we don't need to do that, but if we want to play it safe, this would be a good time to make that happen. So, you know, maybe we'll do it. Maybe we'll do it once, just, you know, if there is a time to do it, this would be it. Ooh. Sienna is incredibly powerful. But we only have 1 deployability left, and it's the Proto Flutter. Guess we could wait to use the Proto Flutter and get more bleed and more boosts. Yeah. I think that is preferable, actually. Yennefer earlier would have been useful. She gains value over time. But I don't think she has quite enough time to make that worthwhile, and also would have been best with Dogger, so we could get more boosts on him as well, but that's no longer the case. Do we have Bloodthirst 3? I think we do. But no, not quite. So yeah, I think it is. I think it is Sienna. It's ambitious. It does take a little bit of time to work because she cannot use her order ability immediately, which means we're waiting a little bit on the Proto Flutter, but hey, it's more time to apply the bleed. And they just don't have boosted cards. So technically we can reset our own cards here, which we could use on the Greatsword. Set it from a 4 back up to a 10, so that's actually not bad. So this can be something we do on our last turn if we play him in the melee row. And we obviously don't need him to be inspired because we don't care about bleeding our own card. Not that it would happen. It would only happen for boosted units. So I think it is you. And we can wait to see if you have anything boosted to use your order ability on. Then it's going to be Sienna plus Proto Flutter on our next turn on you for a big boost. And then Bloody Baron to reset ourselves unless they have a really highly boosted card that we want to go after you with. Use you to go after. So yeah. Okay, Gale. Ooh. That's a huge Gale play. Surprise. Oh, well, technically that was also a big Gale play as well. But this now does become a good target for us to leech. So I like that. It's convenient timing. So we can go that route. I think we probably will opt to do that. Seal a bunch of their points and get them for ourselves. Now we go Sienna, so that means we get double deployability on you. Which, against this Catechin, should mean a pretty sizable boost. Like so. Like so. Okay. Beast of Blood, please don't do it on him. I mean, you're probably going to. Yeah. I mean, that's going to be the Bloody Baron target. Should still be fine here.
Would have liked to have been able to reset that to get it up to a 10 again, but instead it's probably going to end up being Panther, I suppose, for +2. Sure. Not a lot, but then again, we have a big advantage here, so I think we're still looking good. Protoflutter of their own, now they can't match the same kind of Protoflutter we did before. So we'll hold on for the win. Very nice. Very nice. Don't think she's one of the harder enemies, even if it says she's supposed to be difficult. Compared to some of the other hard enemies, I think she's considerably easier. Damage enemy unit by 1, increase the damage by 1 for every damaged enemy unit. It's a good finisher. And it's a good finisher that can actually destroy a card, whereas most of our other ones weaken highly boosted cards, but don't have what it takes to actually finish the job. So it does kind of fill a need there, but if we remove our alternate... Well, I mean, we're not getting rid of you. The Cultist has probably been one of our weaker cards thus far, so it's not a terrible idea to remove it and just increase the likelihood that we get cards like the Nekker instead. So I'm not opposed to that. I think we are running the risk now. We've added a lot of cards to our deck. We are definitely at risk of getting to the point where we have so many cards that we want to play, it's just mathematically impossible to play them all. Let alone the probability of us getting all the ones that we want, or a subset of the ones that we want, is just decreasing every time we add more cards to the deck. So that's kind of making me lean toward dumping you, to be honest. Or maybe even the Berserker. They're both on the weaker end. So... it's just been hard to predict the row for you at times, because we want to play you early on one hand. On the other hand, that requires some anticipation. So, yeah. This is nice, though. But it is nice. But it is nice, though. The thing is, it is nice, though. And next time, we probably will not be looking to add a card. We'll probably be looking to drop a card instead, because we are going into a battle right away here. And this will be our last battle before the boss fight. So, invest what you need to there. We still have decent energy, and we have another place of power coming after this. So, we did not have to spend much of the previous encounter. That is good. As for this one, though, we're about to find out. Ancient Fleshin. Have we seen you? Because I'm not sure that we have. I'm not sure that we have. I'm assuming this is considered a difficult enemy. It doesn't say so. So might have dodged a bullet there. That is one of the few times we've had an enemy that does not say hard at the very end. Spawn Fog on a random enemy row for 2 turns, cooldown 2. So that means that it weakens damages our lowest card in a row. So it's much more likely to actually kill something than, say, the Frost would be. So cards like Malleusine Cultists are going to be kind of vulnerable here. And they also have an Ancient Fog that gets boosted by the total duration of row effects. And whenever a row effect is spawned, gets boosted by the duration. So this is a card we're going to want to try to destroy immediately, and we can do that with Erendite. So even if they activate this immediately. So that's very good. And it powers up Erendite further, which is also something we'd love to see. So I think we're dumping you, to be honest. And we're dumping you for sure as well. Well, we tried. We got Dogger without even needing to set him up with a magnifying spyglass, so that means we can be pickier with this. And strange thing is, the case could be made for deliberately letting this get boosted, kind of like what we did against the guy who stole all of our Doggers. Let it get boosted, and then just steal the boost with a Regis Higher Vampire. Or reset them. I mean, in this case, we're getting value from it. Whereas in this case, we're just negating the value that they got. So, it's kind of tempting. Then again, they might play an Ancient Foglet. I would not rule out that they're going to play an Ancient Foglet from their hand. So I think we probably just get rid of this one. Guarantee that it goes away. And then if they play another one, then that's where we might want to consider a Regis. Now, other than that, I imagine they're mostly damage rather than boosts. So let's go. We'd like to have the immediate dogger setup, which we don't necessarily have. Nekker, kinda, sorta. Queen of the Night, kinda, sorta. It's like, do we take the synthesis before we take dogger for that reason? Possibly. Oh no, we already have dogger, right? So, 1, 2, 3, or 2, 3. We want this combo. I don't think they're gonna have that much boosting. Oh, also, this has Veil for what it's worth, so the bleed from our Nekker might not be as effective, which means Proto Flutter might have a bit of a tough time here. So I think we won't focus on you, and since there is a synergy there, maybe we pass on Bloody Baron as well. We go here, and maybe we take our chances here. Okay, so we can't even use this, or we can use it, but we're not going to get any value out of applying the bleed if we do this on this turn. Might still be our best first turn play. Either that or dogger and just lean on this extra damage from Erendite to not be too concerned about their damage. I mean, they might still be able to destroy him if he's just at 5 power, so I'm a little worried about that. I think we probably do still play you first, even if this does not really matter. And in fact, we can still do it. I mean, there's no reason to. Okay, we won't. But like, we're gonna get it back off cooldown anyway before we would need to use it again. So you could, but we won't. Okay. Yep. What did I say? Probably gonna see more ancient foglets. So now you're at 6, which means this happens every other turn. If we go Synthesis Blaze, dogger next turn, Synthesis hits you for 5. We need 1 more small source of damage, which, depending on what you do, Throne Berserker, if you don't have any other units, would be guaranteed to take you out. Otherwise, Panther, if you get a small boost, or we just need targeted damage, could work as well. So let's go for this. And we're just dodging their row effects for the time being. Okay, I don't love the Nature's Rebuke. It's going to be to remove you, I assume. So that was going to be our way to destroy you, or at least our best way to destroy you. Then again, we deliberately set up or made sure we were going to get a higher vampire so that we could steal the boost from you. So maybe that's not that bad of a thing if you actually do continue to get boosted and we just actually have that benefit us rather than benefit you. Still not getting any value out of the Nekker, unfortunately. We could, of course, go for Thunder. Or actually, it would be Ulfhedden plus Thunder does destroy you on this turn. This is our last battle before the boss fight. So, and we have a place of power after this, so we can probably be kind of aggressive. We might just go that route, to be honest. Might just go that route. Why not? Does mean that we might still want them to have some kind of boosted card to set up the higher vampire play, but, you know, if they had, like, 3 of those, that was going to be a problem. Okay, Cave Troll. This might actually be the first time that we've seen a Defender. So Defender means that you... Yeah, and it's a good thing we destroyed those Foglets before this came down, because Defender means that you cannot target anything other than this. At least for all the cards in that row. So, basically, they played the Cave Troll. If they still had the ancient Foglets in this row, we would not be able to target them with Ulfhedden, with Nekker, with Thunder, with anything. We would only be able to hit you. So it's basically like a wall or a taunt or something like that. So that's why it's a good thing that we addressed those 2 cards as soon as we did. Otherwise, that was going to become an issue. So we can finally give you bleed. So that is useful. And it might be the time to do this and also play Dogger. We know they have at least some damage, yes. But I think we shut down their biggest engine, so I don't know that they're going to have much in the way of points remaining here. So, I mean, we could technically get the Drone Berserker down as well, which might mean if we play Dogger on our next turn, we have slightly more setup for him. So, like, maybe that's something. Maybe that's something that's worth doing. On this turn, he's just going to hit the armor, which is not really helpful. So it's not ideal. I think we might still be playing Dogger here. Bit of a risk that they address him, but even if they do, I'm feeling okay. Gonna give bleeding here to Dogger. And at this point, we could potentially... Ooh, I do like weakening you guys to set you up for Gregoire, because otherwise it's going to be really hard to get a 1-power card when the Defender, the Cave Troll, is stopping us from targeting anything else in this melee row. He's certainly not going to be an easy target for Gregoire to destroy. So I think what we'll do is we'll bleed on one of you, and next turn we'll use Gregoire on you. I was considering going with a Thunderstorm, but I think that's not quite necessary here. Instead, I mean, we could Drone Berserker, and if it happens to hit you, that's a little unfortunate because that would kind of brick Gregoire. So, yeah. Or we could Purify Dogger if we were really concerned about that. We could use Dogger's Order ability, which we arguably should do. Again, it's likely to at least have some of that damage to the Cave Troll, and some of it could brick the bleed we just put on the Oak Critters, but... eh. I think we'll do this.
What?
Might give us extra damage. We'll save Dogger, so that way we have another way to weaken cards if necessary to set up Gregoire in case this bricks stuff. It did not. Great Oak is damage. Not enough to cause huge problems. They might just go for the boost instead. They did, actually. And fortunately, the card that was going to get damaged by the fog is one that could transform when it took damage, so that worked out quite well for us. This is where we want to go Gregoire, Deathblow on you, or, I mean, we could wait around for a different target instead, but I think we'll take what we can get here. I technically should have done this first. And I think we're still going to wait on Dogger, because this is now a slightly boosted card, which gives us at least an option for the higher vampire. So we'd rather not damage you now. Okay, this will get a lot of boosts. Except they actually don't have enough power for it yet. So, oh, and they played it behind the Defender. Okay, so we cannot target this right now. So... huh. Actually, so Defender is a status. Same way that Bleed, or Shield, or Vitality, or Veil is. So we can Purify it with Queen of the Night, which means we could then proceed to target you. It doesn't give us any points directly, but it does give us much more flexibility. So that is a nifty option that we might want to consider. I don't think it's urgent yet, so maybe we hold off, but that might be what we choose to do with you. I think we might play the higher vampire now and at least give ourselves the option of leeching from you on our next turn. So eventually this will become more boosted than you. In all likelihood, it's not going to have a ton of time to do that, but that might still become the case, in which case it might be preferable, and then it's not as urgent to play you, so that's where the purification comes in. I mean, I guess if we're committing to that, then we can damage you after all. And just commit to leeching from you. And we could go Bleed. We'd have enough time to go that route on the Great Oak. Yes, we do that. And this is the unfortunate part, is if we Purify the Cave Troll on our next turn, it does mean we're going to lose the Bleed. It's still, we're getting one turn of damage out of it, so I guess it's still kind of worth it. Because we can't target you yet, so it's the only option we do have here. And that's more Bleed. And fortunately, that is a unit that has a shield on, so that mitigated the first round of damage. So now this is getting boosted every turn. So we're going to wait a little bit to use Regis, but that is eventually going to be Regis' target. So we could actually... Ooh, you know, we need to... Can't play Regis last, even if it's going to be the last turn that we use his order. So if we do that, we could Purify on our last turn to set up this, in which case, well, we get one more turn worth of bleed, or we get more value out of Brockvar Hunter. If we wait here, potentially. I think we probably just Purify. Which means range.
Your deepest, darkest dreams, I can make them real.
And not to mention, we can now apply bleed elsewhere if we'd like, and we probably would like to do that, because the more damage units we have, the more powerful Brockvar Hunter, or rather Brockvar Archer becomes. Okay, they have a Regis Higher Vampire? No, that's not allowed. So for what it's worth, if they leech from, is it Gregoire who's more boosted, or is it Dagger? I think it's actually Gregoire. If they leech Dagger, we can then leech their leech. We can leech their Regis Higher Vampire, which is now looking like that is our preferred option, unless... I mean, if we go Dagger, and we hit this, or we get 1 damage on the Regis, then we can destroy with a Brockvar Hunter, although we need to play you this turn. Otherwise, we aren't going to have time to use your ability, so yeah, that's not actually an option. Yeah, I mean, we could still do this and see if we happen to hit you, and then Thunder is an option. Might still be overkill in that case. So I think we'll go here. We have the bleed, which we can do here. And so the question is, do you do this and risk hitting you and weakening the effect? No, I think you do this because we're assuming that we're going to be leeching from you, not from you anymore. So we do this, does not hit you. Makes this leech bigger, but we're okay with that as long as we can still do this. As long as we can still leech the leech, which I think we can. So now you are up 10, which is more than your boost of 6. So we go that route. And then we get a little bit of damage from the Hunter. Not amazing, but we can, what, hit you probably? Should be just enough to destroy you.
By the race of Morhaul.
And, sure. Lead as well will give us 1 more damage, and it's a 40-plus point lead here, so I'm feeling pretty good. Don't think we need to be too concerned about using any energy here. Morvad boosts all other allied units. I mean, that's just not enough on there to be relevant. So, not so bad. Not so bad, that guy. Understandable, I suppose. They didn't have hard next to it. Listed all the names, so I think it is the first time we see the Ancient Leshen, though. Maybe we saw him earlier. It was just easy enough that we didn't give it much thought. So I think at this point we've added a lot of cards to our deck. I was going to say we'd probably prefer not to add more, but that is a really nice Foltest Pride. If we can remove something bad, which we can, technically that might still be better, because here's the thing. There's a finite number of cards we can play in a match. So we only draw into so many cards. So we could add a gold Foltest Pride 5 more times, and we would just never be able to play them, so they would quite literally give us 0 incremental value. So that's why, even though this is really good, and really what this would be doing is it would be replacing one of our other good cards. You know, we'd prioritize getting this instead of, what, like instead of a Proto-Flutter maybe? Or instead of, if we think we need to reset, we could go instead of that. Instead of like a Bloody Baron. Probably would still be looking for a Regis Higher Vampire. That's still really good. So, I mean, Would it replace one of those? Possibly. So would we use the incremental value of a full test pride instead of using a protofletter? Is that better than guaranteeing that we don't accidentally draw into a panther and instead make sure that we're drawing into exclusively those gold cards that we really like? That's basically the question, and it's tough to say. That's a little tough to say. I think... But it's definitely not you. And it's definitely not you either. You're an early play. Early-ish play. Does that affect our decision there? Not necessarily sure that it does. I mean, this could be kind of similar to Synthesis, a card that we can play on our very first turn proactively, and then on our next turn play Dogger. And as soon as we have Dogger on the board, we use Full Test Pride's order ability. We damage a bunch of cards and boost Dogger up a lot so that he's out of removal range, or at least more likely to be out of removal range. I might have talked myself into it. Because it is really good. It might still be a big enough upgrade that it's worth doing it, even if it means we're not playing one of our other big cards. Okay, so now it's a Place of Power, which at 56 energy, borderline as to whether the incremental energy would be helpful here, or if we'd prefer to go for the other bonus. It's upgraded unit by 3. That's just not enough to be worthwhile, I don't think. I mean, yes, we can use our Spyglass or whatever it's, or Magnifying Glass, whatever it's called, to guarantee that we draw into that card that has the 3 additional power. We can put it on Dogger to make it harder for them to remove Dogger right off the bat. We do still have some ways to make that happen, as we were just saying, with things like Synthesis and with Full Test Pride now, so it's not as much of a concern. It is guaranteed a little bit of extra value, whereas you could potentially make the case that if we just have more energy than we could ever end up using, then the incremental 20 is not helpful at all. But, I mean, I think it's roughly the same here. Like, it's 3 extra value, which could be worth a lot more if it's the difference between Dogger surviving or not. True. Or it could be 1 more leader ability. Obviously, you can get more than 1 leader ability with 20 energy. It's just that, you know, we already had enough for almost every turn using a leader ability. So this is like that 1 extra turn when we might have otherwise run out. So, I mean, this is a little more flexibility, though, I think. So I think we still take that. I do like me some good old energy. And that means, for the first time, we are looking at actually making it to this boss. Powerful monster awaits you defeat it to obtain a mutagen. It is a red, fiery boss. I assume, my guess, would be this is damage, primarily, that it's going to be thrown at us. So, I mean, can we out-damage the damage boss? Who knows? Am I even guessing correctly? Who knows? We're about to find out. The fiery fiend, Raiz, alright, so let's see. What is your deal? Spawn a molten image on a random allied row. What is that? 3 power. It looks cool. Doomed Zeal. So you can immediately use this ability. Banish the leftmost card in your opponent's hand. What? Death Wish, spawn the banished card back on your... Wait, what? They destroy cards from our hand. But if we can destroy these guys, then we can get those cards back. That is weird. It's cool, but it is out there. So right now that would mean we'd lose Brock for our Hunter, so it actually kind of means we'd like to have a weak card in our leftmost spot. So, do I have a sacrificial lamb or 2, like Brockvar Archer? Then if we place a Synthesis Blaze on our first turn, that means once this gets destroyed or discarded or banished, whatever it technically is, banished, then Nellyseed Cultist would be the next one, and that's also a card that we're comparatively kind of okay with that happening to. So I kind of like the way this is set up right now. Deliberately having some bad cards that if they do get shut down, It's not the end of the world now. There's still a chance we can get them back. So does that mean that it's worth it to try to mulligan some of these out for something better? Possibly? Possibly, like, are we super concerned about losing this Brockfire Archer? And enough so that we feel a big desire to get it back? I mean, the other thing is that 3-power Molten Image, but unless they boost this thing, unless they boost it or put a defender to block it, we can immediately destroy it with our Thunder. So that's also a little weird that we do kind of have a hard counter, so it feels like there's going to be more stuff to stop us from doing that. Otherwise, that'd just be too simple to shut them down. It's weird. That's weird. Maybe we swap you out and look for something a little bit better. Protoflutter, I mean, possibly. We don't... Oh, we do have bleed support right now. So, okay. You know, we can probably make this work. Again, we're kind of accepting that Brockfire Archer is going to get banished and might bring him back, but even if we can't, that's not the end of the world. And it might mean that, you know, once we place the Synthesis, likely on our first turn, then Protoflutter is the next one on the chopping block, but you've cooled down 3, so it's not like we're going to have this happen to us immediately. So we could end up playing you, and then I would rather not have it happen to Regis, but we'll see. I think as long as this leftmost card is one that we're willing to sacrifice, then we should be okay. And I think we are. And we always draw cards to the rightmost spot in our hand. So, but unless you're also going to discard cards from the right side of our hand, I'm feeling okay about telling us to get a Dogger. Then probably Foltest Pride and maybe Bloody Baron or even Gregoire, just because there are definitely cards we're going to be trying to weaken and eventually destroy. We also have a way to destroy cards with Erendite. Now this time we don't care that much about the death blow because we've powered this up to set it up for this occasion. So we're just looking for whatever the best time to use this 7 damage is. Doesn't necessarily need to be right off the bat, which is what we've generally used it for in the past. And if they, of course, they start off with a big engine that we want to shut down, then that could still be the direction we go in, but that remains to be seen. So let's do this. We'll get probably Dogger, followed by Foltest Pride, and then the question is the last one. What do we want? That I'm not as sure about. That I'm not as sure about. Would it even be Gregoire? Possibly. Possibly. I'm not sure how much boosting they're going to have. But I'm a little bit on the fence about Bloody Baron. I think we do try you. Okay, so then we're going to start off with Synthesis Blaze. That means you're going to get banished on their first turn, but I think that's okay. We are willing to make that type of sacrifice. Then we saved up a ton of energy. In fact, this is probably the most energy we've ever had going into a boss fight, so I think we can be super aggressive here, and we'll go for an early portal and just see if we can get something that's an engine to maximize the amount of time we have to benefit from it. Like a second to Synthesis, perhaps? Nothing for Falibor to target. And this is also deployability, so nothing for you to target either. So, by definition, I think it's going to be you. So that is... If they play something big here, we can immediately shut it down with the Synthesis, or we can try to stockpile some of these charges. So when we play Dogger on our next turn, we can get him boosted up a whole lot and shut down whatever they're trying to do. So let's see what their cards are. There's the banishment we were expecting. Royce. He's really strong in multiplayer. What does he do in Rogue Mage? Spawn Wildfire. Oh! Hold up. Spawn Wildfire on an enemy row for 3 turns. Order damage an enemy unit in a row with Wildfire by 1. Deathblow, your opponent loses 3 energy. Okay, so maybe a good thing that we did come in with extra energy, because they might have ways to sap our energy here. But we should be able to destroy. In fact, we can immediately destroy you. If we go Erendite here, we can immediately destroy both of you, in fact. Either with Erendite or Synthesis Blaze, or a combination of those two. What does this do? Whenever a unit on this row receives damage from any other source, damage it by 1. Oh, so it's basically double damage on everything that has wildfire. That's actually very similar to a similar effect, or at least an effect for a similar archetype in the recent Gwent multiplayer expansion, so that's kind of cool. But let's go Dogger. We're definitely going to play him in this row, though.
On Handor!
So, what is our preferred way to take you out? It might be use all the charges here. Well, do we want to... How concerned are we about you? Okay, so it's not like once they have one molten image, they're going to stop creating more. No, they're going to keep on doing it. So... yeah, I think we do still want to get rid of you as quickly as possible. You're a bigger concern. You're more urgent. So... it's a little overkill with Erendite, but maybe that's still fine. So that allows us to stockpile a little bit more of the Synthesis Blaze charges. Then again, with the Wildfire this row, they have the potential to deal a whole bunch of damage to these, so we want to use these order abilities quickly. So in that case, when it's 9, it's 1 point of overkill, or we have 1 damage left. I think we do this. Get rid of you, because you were going to be a problem. Get rid of you, because that means we get our Brockfar Hunter, or rather, Brockfar Archer back. So you might still get damaged before, you might get destroyed before you get the chance to use this last charge, but that was not bad value. Whenever a unit is destroyed, boost self by 2. Well. 2 damage, 1 damage. The leader ability could certainly damage you as well. So we can get rid of you immediately if we'd like. It's a matter of what our preference is, really. What is our preferred method? We'd like to, if we have key cards at the left side of our hand, we'd like to play those quickly, because otherwise those are at risk of going down here. So like Protoflutter, we don't have a ton of setup for it outside of this Nekker, so like, maybe we're okay with that going down here. I mean, we should be able to get it back somewhat easily. So I think we still just prioritize taking you out. So, oh, also Dogger for 3 damage. Yeah, actually, that's enough by itself to get rid of you. So, in that case, maybe we do go for either the Greatsword or the Nekker, because these are more long-term plays. Yeah. I think we do that. Technically, we don't need your bleeding just yet, so why don't we go Greatsword here.
3 heads with 1 blow.
Dogger gets you down to a 1, then we destroy you, like so. No energy needed, still have the Erendite charge. 1 more turn with the Wildfire, dodged. Fossil Ifrit will damage all units in the opposite row. They will go for this. Now, we've already used the order abilities here, so these are not all that important for us to keep these anymore. So that's why it was crucially important that we just use them as quickly as possible, and we have. This will get to use that ability again in a few turns, so that is still an engine. And we could destroy it altogether with Erendite if we wanted to. I like having this saved up, so, you know, if we have other sources of damage, we can wait and use this big burst when necessary. I mean, if we go Full Test Pride plus Thunder, that is enough to destroy you. So we might just do that, because we have plenty of energy still. Yeah, I think so, right? Because that's 2 damage, Thunder is 3. That's enough? Yeah, let's go for it. Get rid of you. Okay. That is going to get rid of you. But that's only temporary. Phoenix, I'm guessing, does something totally different from what it does in multiplayer Gwent. At the end of your turn, boost a random allied unit by 3, damage self by 3. Deathwish, banish self, and spawn Phoenix hatchling. So it's basically just non-stop going to do this. So it makes it harder for us to remove these molten images, is basically the deal here. And or we could use this big burst of damage from Erendite, but do we need that yet? We might not. Our other sources of damage are kind of slow. We did use most of our faster damage already. I mean, you would be our fastest source of damage, but we just don't really have the setup because we keep destroying cards rather than leaving them damaged. Long term, this is the card that we'd like to have on the board as quickly as possible. We would benefit the most from that. Or we could just destroy you with Erendite. That might be the answer. So that gives us a window in which to play Nekker at, which would be kind of nice to do. So I think we do that. I think we still do that, and it technically means we're not really going to have a great target for you to use this on, because that means the Phoenix is going to it's going to destroy itself, so the bleed on it is not really a factor. But I think we'll do it just because we want to get you down as quickly as possible to support other cards. Unless we happen to go with something like a portal here, and we get something that gives us enough damage to remove you, but that's pretty much impossible at this point. I think we just do this. That gives us back the Proto Flutter, which is the card that synergizes most with you. And we did draw into Queen of the Night, so that is helpful as well, because that's another thing that synergizes with the Proto Flutter. So let's go here. And like I said, it's overkill, yes. Because this is still going to destroy itself, but so be it. Okay, so Synthesis Blaze, that looks familiar. Where did that come from? Okay, now this Phoenix Hatchling. If we can destroy this, then it's just going to stop the Phoenixes, right? So this is actually a window. Window to, shut that down. And a good opportunity for Gregoire. Does mean we're probably going to let this Synthesis Blaze use its ability. So I don't really think we have the means to stop it right now. We can get 2 damage on it, drop it down to a 6. It's still not low enough for us to destroy it. Alright, there's always a chance of Portal doing something for us here. Maybe that's worth checking. So we actually have not used much in the way of energy yet, still to this day. Ooh, feeling Trendenberg. More fire synergies. Now, I would not rule out that they have this. That would be scary, because we have a pretty huge dogger right now. So I'd rather that not happen. Greatsword is basically, I mean, it's a mini dogger, right? So that could get up to 10 power. Now, Yennefer would be kind of nice. That is damage that supports dogger. It's early enough that there's a good chance this is going to be worth more than you. Especially when you combine the damage with the boost that we get from that damage. So yeah, I think we do take Yennefer here.
Just yield now.
Means we get the bleed more quickly here. We can still do, yeah. This, and now you from hand. Like so. So you will still get to use these charges, but I'm not that concerned about them. Burn 3 enemy units. This is the first time we've seen that. What is burn? I'm not sure. The end of the owner's turn, damage the unit with the status by 1 when the burning unit is destroyed. Burn its adjacent units. Okay, so yeah, we did see the burn get past here a bit. So it's kind of like bleed, but it's bleed that gets passed over to adjacent units. Okay. Not too worried about that. So I think now we're looking to set up Proto Flutter, which means bleed. Technically, do we want to try to avoid playing cards next to ones that have burning? I mean, I'm not really sure that's going to be something we can avoid.
Be not afraid.
Also, you can heal, so it's not a huge factor anyway. And you're unlikely to get, fingers crossed, unlikely to get destroyed. And we have all this energy to spare here. So, I mean, this card has already done its thing. And we actually like the fact that it has a bunch of bleeding on it because that helps us with Protoflutter. So we'd rather not destroy it here. But we can try a portal because why not? We have the means and we have the board space as well. Maybe? Don't really know what that's going to give us. Botchling does give us damage over time. Or by that I mean, it's an engine that deals damage. Not a lot of time to benefit from it, but it does support Dagger. It would have worked really well with Yennefer, but they destroyed Yennefer on the previous turn. It is actually a fantastic synergy with Yennefer, so unfortunately missed out on that opportunity, but I think it is still better than our alternatives here, or at least more of a sure thing than the spotter is. And again, we'll, I guess, try to put you far away from the flaming cards. And we can get even more bleed now. Okay, now you're out. What is that? Remove 9 energy from your opponent, then spawn 3 of whatever these things are. Okay, so we lost... What was it that they banished? I already forget. But it's Regis Hire Vampire, which is a card we'd like to have. So now what we can do is we could... Well, we can already guarantee that we get 3 damage cards to set up Brockfire Hunter, or Brockfire Archer. I keep on calling it Hunter, because Hunter is a card. Both of them are cards in multiplayer Gwent, but I play Hunter way more than I play Archer. So, do this. Damage 3 cards, means we have tons of damage on you to destroy you. I would like to do this soon, but... I guess it can probably wait. So we want to make sure we have cards in hand here. Otherwise... If they banish one of our cards, that means we just have fewer turns to play, which is not something we want to have. So we'd like to avoid that. Now we go for you. And we do that to get you back. Technically, we do need to play you on our next turn, otherwise we're going to run out of time. So we do this. Which means you're going to get destroyed from the bleed before we can use Protoflutter on you. I mean, then again... There's nothing that's boosted right now, so Regis Hire Vampire is just pretty useless, so we'd actually prioritize optimizing you rather than optimizing you. I really hope you don't hit Synthesis Blaze. In fact, we might flip you over to your Loverkin form so that you boost us, because if you do damage this, and then it gets destroyed by the bleed, there's our Protoflutter synergy all gone. So let's do the flip. It will boost our lowest card, which would be this Synthesis. Kind of helps mitigate the effect of the Blaze. And let's go Portal, because again, we can. What? We didn't even see what these do. Death Wish, your opponent gains energy. I mean, we had tons of energy going into this fight. We still have tons of energy in spare, so it's actually not a huge factor. Falibor is amazing here, though. 1, 2, 3. We'll take it. One, 2, 3. Get all of the energy we just spent back and more. Okay, we are once again going to lose the energy. But once again, that is not a big problem. So we would need to play Regis Hire Vampire if we were expecting to use its order ability, but they have nothing that's boosted right now. So this order ability is worth 0 points, whereas this order ability is worth a whole lot. And if we don't play this now, we're going to miss out on a lot of value. So we should do this. And once again, we might as well, right? Might as well, Portal. Just don't want to kill that. I mean, that'd be a nice finisher on our last turn. Yeah. I mean, technically this does help to make Protoflutter even bigger by 2 points. Unless we have other pirates. I don't... no, Dogger's not a pirate. You are not a pirate. So... Oh no, allied unit. Okay, that's multiplayer Gwent where it's pirates. So that's 6 points of extra value out of you. Okay. At this point, we're in flex territory. Are we trying to get a bigger Protoflutter, or are we trying to quite literally have them with 0 power on the board? I might prefer 0 power. I mean, it's not actually going to be 0 because they have last say. So they will be able to play at least one card at the very end. But now it's this, which is another big finisher for us. So it gets boosted up by 14, and then just do that because we can, and we might as well, like, I mean, again, if we're trying to destroy as many cards as possible, then we will flip now because we no longer care if you are the one that gets. Actually, you won't get destroyed by Lubberkin or rather by Botchling because it's going to hit one of you three. Okay, Vandergriff, shield, high power card. Darn, we're probably not going to be able to destroy that. That stinks. Well, I do love this. And you're going to get destroyed. This is going to remove your shield. We can do a little more damage here. In fact, we probably should. Just hit you as many times as we can. And now we portal because we can. And we see if we can destroy other stuff. Is pretty much where we are. And, not really. We can get more boosts, but I guess that'll do. That's not a lot of time to benefit from those boosts, but so be it.
They're surprisingly clean creatures, as it happens.
Oh, that voice line is amazing. Okay, let's more bleed here. The bleed is overkill, but they're really going to take one more turn, so it doesn't really matter. You're going to hit you, and then you don't have time for your order ability, but it doesn't matter because they don't have any boost at all, so definitely was worth prioritizing you over you. And this boss, I don't know. Does it have some amazing final play here? No. Guys, that one was kind of easy. Wow. Okay, so, yes, it was a damage boss of sorts. We absolutely outdamaged it. We nearly prevented it from scoring any points at all. So, that was pretty cool. That one felt pretty good. And so it means we will level up a lot here. As is usually the case when we do defeat the final boss. We nearly hit level 32, but let's see what we got here. So, we got Time Warp, draw 2 cards, then discard 2 cards. It's a spell, so it's for consistency here. Costs just 1 energy, but, you know, it's basically, it's not going to directly give you any points, but if you have bad cards in your hand and you really need to get the good cards in your hand, it's a way of doing that. A Glace is a key card. Not sure for which archetype. I assume it's Bulwark, because she's a boosting-centric card. She gets doubled, or she can double the amount of boost she's received, which in Bulwark would make sense. Other decks, probably not so much. Treasures, we have the Master Blacksmith passive. Upgrade the first unit you play in each battle by 2. Whoa, permanently? Permanently upgrade? That could be nifty. That could be nifty, especially if you had the Spyglass. That, well, no, because that's still gonna... That takes a turn to activate. Huh. Yeah. That's an interesting one. Traveling Priestess, spawn and play one of Alzur's spells. That doesn't feel as valuable, but okay. Not unless it's starting on the board. Then reinforcements. Fargus, consume an allied unit. Consume an allied unit on the order ability as well. Okay. There's lots of consumption. Plague Maiden. We saw one of our opponents use this. Spawn 7 rats when it gets destroyed. Morkfarg. Oh, not Morkfarg, Heart of Terror. Normal Morkfarg, which is actually different. When he enters our graveyard, he gets summoned onto the board. So he's actually a card that he wants to discard, which is one instance in which you could get points from Time Warp if you deliberately discard Morkfarg. Then he will get put into your graveyard and then immediately get summoned onto the board. So that's useful in that way, and you still get drawn to those other cards that you actually want, so that's helpful. New potion, Hunter's Cocktail. At the start of your run, remove 2 random bronze cards from your deck. Oh, that's interesting. That's very random bronze cards. Sometimes those bronze cards are pretty important. But if you happen to remove the weakest bronze cards from your deck, then you're, again, consistency-wise, you're getting rid of your weakest stuff. So you're more likely to draw into the big stuff. So it's a little risky because you don't know what it's going to be. But I can see how that could be helpful. Then more reinforcements. Garcane. At the end of your turn, if your opponent controls at least one bleeding unit, you get boosted by 1. We've seen some enemies use this before. It'd be Gerwin, damage an enemy unit and all its copies by 3. That'd be good for the type of deck we were just running. Artist, whenever an enemy unit is played, damage it by half its power. It's a pretty crazy card. It is great if you have cards that actually benefit from taking damage. We have not seen many of those yet. In some ways, the Drummond Berserker is one of them, where it takes the damage, it means it'll immediately transform into that 6 power Bear Abomination, and that's not bad. If you consider, I mean, 6 points is not amazing, but if you consider that every other card is getting damaged by half its power, then most other cards are going to be much, much weaker than that. Then we have a new spell as well. Edict. 3 energy, destroy a damaged unit. Whoa. Whoa. So it does already need to be damaged, yes. However, if you are running a deck that has a lot of built-in damage, like the one that we just used, this could be really useful. Because it's somewhat limited in which cards you can go after, but you could get way more than 3 damage, or effectively way more than 3 damage out of this. So that's nifty. That is very nifty. And then next would be Shawnee, which is a key card. We've not yet unlocked her, but she... Oh, well, actually, this is in progress. We haven't unlocked it yet. After would be Shawnee. Shield, Zeal, order play unit from your graveyard. Cooldown 3. Wow, you can use that a lot. Do you need to defeat an enemy unit? Or, well, as with any other key card, you can evolve her further. I don't even know what you would get with an empowered Shawnee. A lower cooldown? Maybe? I don't know what deck that'd be for. Maybe the Swarm one that we've not yet played, because it doesn't really seem like it synergizes with the Bulwark boosting deck, nor with the damage deck that we just ran. But I could see how, if you're just trying to get as many units on the board as possible, then that would certainly help. So very cool. Very cool. What's up, Max? How's it going? Yes, I have a very, very sore throat right now and a very stuffy nose. I'm trying to power through it. But we did just successfully complete a run, so that's good news. You love to see that. And that means that we now have another mutagen here, so we're getting close to getting this full set of mutagens here. That is our first time beating that red boss there, and we unlocked a lot of stuff along the way. And at least with the deck that we were running there, it was not that difficult. In many ways, there were I don't know, there were probably half the normal enemies that we encountered in that run. Almost all of the normal enemies that we encountered in that run were more difficult than the final boss, which I think is in large part just because we had the damage to shut down their key setup, their leader ability, whereas if we weren't able to do that, that could have been a big issue. So it was probably in large part due to the matchup, so, you know, can't take credit for that. That was purely coincidence, and we lucked out in that way. But nonetheless, good to see, and excited to test out some of those new things that we just unlocked. And I'm thinking that, you know, for our next run, maybe we were talking a little bit earlier about doing a random RNG run where we just, you know, we're probably not going to win that one, but just for the sake of having a few laughs with it, that can be kind of intriguing and see what happens. You know, maybe we get incredibly lucky and we happen to do well, and maybe we succeed. I kind of doubt it, but, you know, you never know until you try. Or we could try another round with the damage deck that we just tried. Obviously, it worked out fairly well for us this time. Or we could try the new Swarm archetype that we've not yet played. Any and all of those sound like they could be intriguing. But alas, I think this is probably a good place for us to wrap up here, as we did, of course, just finish this run and a successful run, which, as I said, that's great news, especially because we saw this enemy, or saw this boss appear. We did not get the chance to face him previously, so to get our revenge of sorts is definitely, for that reason, is a little bit better.